nation invaded. But remember Northwestern.
Grip in the air. That's caught.
Damian Anderson leads the Wildcats assault. Eric Crouch heads Nebraska's punishing rushing attack. The best in the country. For the 32nd straight time, Nebraska heads to a bowl game where they'll take on Northwestern next.
Tonight, the lights of San Antonio's Riverwalk are the city's second best offering. Because inside the Alamo Dome, there's a certain feel only associated with a big game in college football. For the 32nd straight season, Nebraska's year will end in a bowl game. This time they substitute pride in place of a title shot, but the mission statement remains the same. For Northwestern, tonight puts the finishing touches on another storybook season. This time around, the Cats want to pen an ending to their liking. Reese Davis and Rodney Gilmore, points aplenty, almost a certainty. Hey, this season's Wildcats feature a knockout punch offense with All-America credentials. The final test may be their toughest yet. Football at Nebraska has become expected excellence. Eric Crouch and the nation's #1 ground game have an agenda. An acceptable season is still one win away. Inside the Alamo Dome for the 8th consecutive year, the Sylvania Alamo Bowl, and the matchup out of the Big 12 Conference, its 32nd consecutive bowl appearance, its 32nd consecutive 9-win season. 8th ranked Nebraska, 8-3, number 19 Northwestern out of the Big Ten, the opposition tonight. And welcome to San Antonio. I'm Dave Barnett. We may have the most interesting of all the postseason matchups because of the contrast in backgrounds. Nebraska, as reliable a commodity as there has ever been in college football, and Northwestern hoping to win its second bowl victory ever. The last one 52 years ago, just their 4th bowl appearance ever. They're here because of maybe the most staggering recent one-season turnaround on the offensive side of the ball, and it's engineered by Randy Walker. In his first year, 3 wins. They were 103rd nationally in total yards. This year, they're 3rd. Last year, 110th in scoring. This year, 9th in the nation in scoring offense. Walker says his year 2 turnaround was anything but a miracle.
I think it starts with attitude. And to quote a famous figure, we quit asking why and started asking why not. And we just tried to find a way, and we replaced an ethic that was kind of a complaining, whining, and say, we replaced it with a work ethic.
And everybody personifies that turnaround. Zach Kustok, last year 46%, only 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. This year, school record for total offense, a school record for touchdown passes. And with more on the Northwestern quarterback, let's send it below and welcome Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Dave, the Northwestern coaching staff calls Zach Kustok one of the most underrated players in the country and a perfect fit for this offense. He has rewritten Northwestern's single-season record book, including the new record for touchdown passes in a season with 18. But perhaps the most remarkable thing about his season has been the ability to lead comebacks. At Wisconsin, Northwestern trailed by 3 with 51 seconds to play. They came back to win in double overtime. At Minnesota, Northwestern was down 21 in the second half. Kustok ran for 2 touchdowns and threw for 2 more, including the game winner to Sam Simmons. And versus Michigan, Northwestern trailed by 5 with 20 seconds to go when Kustok found Simmons in the end zone to win 54-51. Now, Kustok is very modest, but his coaches will tell you that the success of every other player on this offense is predicated on the performance of Zach Kustok, Dave.
And we welcome Bill Curry and Mike Golick. And how comforting a thought for Randy Walker that if Zach Kustok happens to be off a little bit, he can hand it to the second leading rusher in the nation, to Damian Anderson.
He can hand it to him, and he will. Abraham Lincoln said, chop your own wood, it'll warm you twice. Randy Walker believes that. And the running game is personified by hard blocking, which is old style, and by the play calling of the new spread offense, an unusual combination from which he has chopped this rare offense. The effect on defenses is devastating, as witnessed by the fact that All-American tailback Damian Anderson scored 22 touchdowns this year. The average length of those touchdowns, 22.9 yards. Mike Golick. I think that means that a lot of big old defensive linemen like you are going to get knocked around some tonight.
Well, if the Nebraska offense has any say about it, they'll be knocking some people around. The #1 running team in the country, 349 yards a game. The running backs, Dan Alexander and Correll Buckhalter and Eric Crouch, all three went over 2,000 total yards this year. So you think I talk about one of them, right? Wrong. I'm going to talk about the big uglies up front. The offensive line led by 2 All-Americans, guard Russ Hochstein, and the best center in the land, Dominic Raiola. The 5 of these guys, the smallest is 290, the biggest is 305, and they are mean. They will reach block you, they will cut block you, but they want to run you over. That is the bottom line. So if they're a success tonight on the ground, the reason is going to be those 5 guys up front knocking you down, and when you finish it, they want you looking out your ear hole after that unblocking you.
4th meeting ever between the Cornhuskers and the Wildcats. Their first since 1974. Nebraska wins the toss and defers, and Chase Long has us underway as Louis Ayede returns it from the 2, and Northwestern will open its first possession of the night at its 16-yard line. And Zach Kustok goes to work. Junior, Orland Park, Illinois. Total offense record, touchdown pass record, 9 rushing touchdown. That ties Otto Graham's ancient school record. And our Beck's starting lineup with the nation's #2 ground gainer Anderson Cartaya. With him in the backfield, Thompson, Johnson, Farman will start, but they will throw it to a slew of speedy pass receivers. And with 5 of them on the pattern, first down, the first throw of the night is to Teddy Johnson. And the senior from Elgin, Illinois, a short gain. The offensive line for Northwestern, Brockmeyer, Clellan, King, Rail, and Souza. The black shirt defensive line, Kelsey, Lohr, Kaiser, and Vandenbar.
Keep an eye on Vandenbar, 17 tackles behind the line. He loves playing on the offensive side of the ball.
Johnson, a loss of 1 now over the middle. And intended for Anderson, a diving interception attempt by Troy Watchorn to be 3rd and 11. The linebackers for the Huskers are led by the All-America in the middle, Carlos Polk, Shanley, and Stella on either side.
Carlos Polk, an imposing, intimidating force in the middle. He will need to play a key role in the running game. He'll have to get to Damian Anderson time and again tonight.
2 Texans in the secondary coming home, Craver and Walker, with Watchorn and Gross. 3rd and 11 for Kustok. And he may change a play 2 or 3 times before he takes the snap. A swing pass intended for Anderson. A quick 3 and out turned in by the black shirt defense.
Certainly not what Northwestern wants on 3rd down. They need that 3rd, 2, 3, 4 area to work the offense the way it needs to be worked. 3rd and 11, you're just having that defense pin their ears back. That's exactly the position they want to be in. They were in Kustok's face right away.
J.J. Standring, junior from Chicago. And their 3rd leading punter in history will kick to Bobby Newcomb. One of the most dangerous return men in the country. Fields this one to the 41. Heads right. And is dragged down after a return of 4 by Pat Durr. But the Husker offense will go to work with good field position. And Eric Crouch, the junior from Omaha, 2nd all-time for Nebraska in total offense. Their all-time leading rushing quarterback, and that takes in some talent. Willie Miller is the fullback. The I-back, Dan Alexander, Newcomb at a wing, Davison, the wideout, and Wistrom, the talented tight end. And while Northwestern has the #3 total offense in the country, the Huskers roll out the #6 offensive attack. And they start with a reverse. Alexander with the give to Newcomb. Knocked out of bounds by Harold Blackman at midfield. And strung out fairly well by the Wildcats as Nebraska goes for the surprise on 1st down. Always the trademark of a Nebraska offense, the huge offensive front. Volk, Fonoti, Raiola, the All-America, Hochstein, and Schwab. Defensive front for the Wildcats. Dwayne Missouri, a homecoming for him out of San Antonio. Chapman, Simon, and Emmerich.
Dwayne Missouri loves coming home. He's the leader on the D-line.
Newcomb gets 5 on the reverse. Crouch with a late pitch to Alexander on his first option of the night. Big yardage to the 30. 20 yards. He cracks helmets with Billy Silva, the middle linebacker. But option number 1 for Crouch goes for big yardage.
This is exactly how you read the option. It doesn't just have to happen at the line. It can happen after. He's going to run it down. Look, he looked like he was tucking the ball away. Then he gets it out late. A great job of tucking it. Looked like he was going to run, making the defender commit to him. That leaves his pitch man wide open.
2 snaps, 25 yards, and straight up the middle, burrowing for 8 on first down. Goes Alexander. Silva, another tackle alongside Napoleon Harris. Northwestern linebackers, Harris, Silva, and Bentley.
Considered one of the best groups in the country. Watch for Silva. He leads the team in tackles, second in the Big Ten with 116.
And the secondary, Blackman, Morton, Wheeler, and Covington. Northwestern's defense nowhere near as accomplished as its offense, but they stayed in enough games to win 8 of them. Willie Miller, the fullback, backs his way to the 15. First and 10 from there for number 15. Average 5 yards per carry during the season, brought down by Rashad Morton. Didn't take Nebraska long, and it hardly ever does, to show what they're all about.
And boy, Bill, I know you're going to have fun talking about this if Nebraska's O-line continues to be successful. You being the ex-O-lineman, you've been loving this.
Toss, Alexander, U-turn right side, untouched, touchdown. 15 yards, and it's 6-0 Nebraska.
The Nebraska fullback, Willie Miller, in the tradition of Nebraska fullbacks, led the way. Big block on the outside backer.
Well, you wonder if you got some wide eyes over there on the Northwestern, on the field and on the sideline. They just got him watered a little bit.
Josh Brown will try to extend his consecutive PA streak to 100, and he does, and it's 7-0 Huskers. And Alexander's been there. And 15 yards. He's in the end zone again, and Nebraska powers its way to an early lead in the Sylvania Alamo Bowl. Another good crowd in the Alamo Dome, the 8th annual Sylvania Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. And 5 plays, 54 yards, 3 of them runs for a total of 41 yards in the final 15 for Dan Alexander, whose trademark is yardage after contact, yak yards. He gets no yak yards in that touchdown.
Well, let me tell you what, and this is a man at 245 pounds, loves the contact. He'll steer toward the defender instead of trying to make a move on him. But there needs to be a defender there.
Yeah, there was no defender, but he'll look him up.
Chase Long flies this one very low and over Ayeni and through the back of the end zone. So that first exchange would pretty much equate the worst fears by Northwestern. They don't move it, and Nebraska goes right through it.
Here's the O-line, Schwab and Finoti. Watch them both. You're going to see a down block and a pull. 1. Finoti coming up for the linebacker 2, and hello end zone.
And fullback Willie Miller doing his best. Fullback boom right there on Harris, number 8. Napoleon Harris needs to fill that hole instead of being knocked back by the fullback.
And a cat and mouse game by Kustok, who surveys the Nebraska look. They back away from the blitz look, and he will keep across the 40. And chased down finally at the 48-yard line by Keo Craver, a gain of 28.
Zach Kustok is all man. Yes, he is a quarterback, and yes, he's smart, but he is tough as nails, and he will turn it up against anybody. Nobody will intimidate Northwestern's offense, and they're going to have to answer Nebraska again and again tonight, but they're off to a good start on this drive.
Look at Teddy Johnson, the wide receiver, downfield blocking. Great job out of him.
They block hard all the time. It's Randy Walker football.
Not just Damian Anderson is a running threat back there. Kustok, their second leading rusher, 450 yards, 9 touchdowns on the ground for him this year. Didn't move it at all. Their first possession. Quickly in business The second time they have it, there's contact. Sam Simmons looking in vain for a flag on Joe Walker.
They'll rule it uncatchable. The reason they didn't make the call is because they'll rule it that the ball was thrown such that Simmons could not get there. Otherwise, it would certainly have been interference.
Northwestern all over the books. 8th nationally rushing, 3rd nationally total offense, 9th nationally in scoring. Already proven you can get 50 on them and they can still win. Michigan may never forget that game. So really 7-0 lead. Undaunted here, they come back. Kustok on the left side, untouched until he's in the 25-yard line. A gain of 30.
This is a read by Kustok, as if it were a triple option. He reads the backside man to his left. He sees him take the outside, and he darts right up underneath, and there's nobody home.
Nation's second leading rusher hasn't touched it yet. They line up in the eye. 2 carries, 58 yards for Kustok, the quarterback, and now Anderson through the middle, behind center, inside the 20.
Watch him look at the defensive man as he puts the ball in the back stomach. It's hard to see his eyes, but he actually reads that. If that man comes down the line, he will hand the ball. If he widens, he'll keep it and run.
Anderson with a marker down, is close to the first down, knocked out at the 16, a couple yards shy.
From where that's thrown, it would appear that it's a holding call against a receiver, and you'll see that a few times in the game. But that's a price Northwestern is willing to pay. Their receivers get up in the numbers and they smash. Nope. Wrong. Illegal participation.
Yeah, Nebraska trying to play with too many players, huh?
Well, when you're getting gassed, you put 12 out there, right?
Well, what they're doing is they're freezing the linebackers, especially Carlos Polk right now in the middle with the misdirection plays. He's freezing there, and he's reacting a little bit late to what he sees, and the speed is getting him. They're beating him on speed then. This guy will come up and hit you in the mouth, but right now he's got to recognize it a little quicker.
Mountain West officiating crew led by Gerald V. Wright.
Legal participation, defense, out the distance to the goal, first down.
And that's what you don't want to do with Northwestern's offense. Give them yardage. They're going to make enough without you giving them anything. And you're talking about defenses being back on their heels. It's going both ways.
Ed Markoff makes it 1st and goal from the Husker 9. So Kustok has his look. Now the Huskers change that look. As he drops back in the shotgun and can't handle the snap, has to fall on it for a huge loss back at the 18.
It's real interesting watching this Northwestern offense, and we'll get some great shots of it. The receivers and quarterback look over to the sideline, and they get the play signaled into them from the coach. Then you'll see Kustok go up to the line of scrimmage, and he'll tell the offensive line and the running back what the play is. It's all coming from the sideline, and then he may change the play a couple of times at the line.
9-yard loss and still goal to go on second down. And Kustok hit as he delivers incomplete, intended for Roger Jordan. Kyle Vanden Bosch, the senior from Larchwood, Iowa, providing the hurry-up for Kustok.
And that's the second time he's done it tonight. He's put a hit on Kustok from the waist on down. He's letting him know he's there. He's beating Leon Brockemeyer. It's up at the top of the screen. Simple rip move. It's what he used in the first drive as well. It's just speed to the corner. Brockemeyer, the old lineman's got to take a better angle out there.
7th all time. Tackles for loss. The leader in sacks. 1 tackles behind the line of issue. So 3rd and goal. With 5 wide. Pressure right up the middle and a sack by Jason Lohr, the nose tackle.
Number 70, Jason Lohr on the
Free
sack.
gifts from Northwestern for the Nebraska defense. A fumble snap and a blown protection. Lohr was not blocked at all, so a little bit rattled on both sides of the ball for the Northwestern team.
Let me tell you what, D linemen love those plays. Now you make sure you make the tackle. I had a lot of those, Bill, and I'd miss it. They call it the Frankenstein look. I get a free rush, and I'd miss. Lohr didn't miss.
Boy, instead of 1st and goal at the 9, here's Tim Long to try a 44-yarder. His career best is 46. In the perfect conditions indoors, he drives it straight through and into the net with plenty to spare. So Randy Walker gets at least 3 out of their second possession, 7-3 Nebraska. Enjoying it inside the Alamo Dome, 7-3 Nebraska. Power through a 54-yard, 5-play scoring drive on their first possession, and Northwestern responds with some of the rather exotic looks they can throw at you, especially on the ground. And the kick is hung very high and returned out to the 38-yard line. So Nebraska again getting excellent field goal position. T.J. Hollowell returns it for the Huskers.
Well, that was a big drive for Northwestern after the first one. They got down and got some points out of it. Now this defense pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and try and take this Nebraska offense on again. They got knocked around that first drive.
They did, and this is too good a field position. That was not good coverage on the kick, and it wasn't a good kick.
I don't understand either one. Well, from the 38, out of the gun, burrowing through the middle, and again, 10, 12 yards before any contact. A gain of 13 for Alexander, and finally brought down by Napoleon Harris. Let's send it down below to Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Dave, while Northwestern's defense was on the sideline after that first Nebraska drive, they were reeling a bit from that drive, just feeling as though they couldn't do anything. The first comment uttered was, what happened to us out there? Defensive coordinator Jerry Brown tried to get the troops together, keep them calm, and say, let's keep it simple. Outside linebacker Kevin Bentley got straight to the point and said, let's fix it right now.
Well, that's a little improvement, and it's still a gain of 6 for Alexander, and another tackle by somebody in the secondary. That's not a good trend either. The strong safety Rashidi Wheeler hits it.
And understand, this is an offense. There's a Nebraska player down. It is Wheeler. This is an offense that averages 6.3 yards per rush. Number 1 in the nation. Of their 63 touchdowns, 45 have come on the ground. They love to go straight ahead. As I said in the open, that offensive line just loves to play smash mouth football.
These offensive linemen, you're right, I love to talk about O-linemen. These guys average 7+ pancakes per game. Now, pancakes is where you take a guy and you drive him over on his back as if you had turned him into the proverbial breakfast food. And they are already beginning to pancake the guys with the black shirts. And it teaches you to get your pads down on defense, doesn't it, big man?
Alexander staggers Wheeler. Literally, he tried to get up to his feet, fell back down, helped off. And second down comes from the 43, and Couch is hit for a loss of 1. Best reaction yet. Pete Chapman, the defensive tackle.
Now there's a Nebraska player down.
And way down the field is wide receiver John Gibson. All the way up at the 22. This Nebraska team, of course, the preseason number 1. They were number 1 until the loss to Oklahoma. And according to Eric Crouch, there is a little unfinished business for the Huskers despite the disappointments of this season.
There's a lot left to prove to ourselves, and you know, the perfect game is still out there. And I don't think we've played that perfect game this year and put everything together in all 3 you know, phases of the game. And I think it's another opportunity for us to go out and prove ourselves to the country that we're one of the best teams out there.
They still believe it. But on the other hand, it is Nebraska, and 9 wins is the minimum expectation.
Well, they believed it coming into this year. They took care of Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl last year, and even though Florida State won the BCS title game, a lot of people thought Nebraska was the best team in the country coming into this year, so they are certainly disappointed they're not playing for the national title.
And instead, to stay in the top 10, quarterback draw, Crouch, too crowded up the middle, will pick up only a couple. And a little exchange after Crouch goes down. Chapman is there again, along with Javier Collins. The 2 defensive tackles converge for the Cats.
That's two of the best plays for the front seven of Northwestern that got knocked around on that first drive. Now they're attacking a little more. They have to attack. They have to try and play on the other side of the line. It's very difficult to do against this offense, but a good 2 plays there.
Well, you know very well, Mike, what goes when you haven't played in a long time is you get your pads up. They got them down that time.
Best punter in school history against the best punt return man in the Big Ten, Haydenfeld. Almost went over Sam Simmons. Diving attempt to keep that one in bounds. Just off, but a nice effort by Randy Stella. Capital One board, 8 Eastern tomorrow. Kustok batted down in his face by Vanden Bosch.
Vanden Bosch is taking this football game over the same way he does those finance classes where he has a 3.85. He's already graduated in 3.5 years, but it looks like he loves to play some ball too, Michael.
He's spending more time in the Northwestern huddle or semi-huddle or at the line than Northwestern is right now, whatever they're doing out there.
He ain't at the library, is he?
No, he's not.
An $18,000 post-grad scholarship waiting for him. The College Football Foundation, they have to wait a while. He may be playing for a while. Kustok on the keeper this time, picks up 5 and is run down by the free safety Dion Booker.
Well, Damian Anderson hasn't really got involved in this game yet, but Kustok, no doubt, he is the linchpin to this offense. I know that a lot of yards that Anderson has, but it is Kustok running the show. But you really got to get Anderson involved at some point, either by receiving or running.
Carry 3 yards. That's it so far for Damian. He winds up in the backfield as Kustok again down under the pressure. John Clanton has the 2nd sack for Nebraska.
What Clanton's doing is simply taking his man, Austin King, and picking him up and running him right back to the QB. Running slap over the fine young center who normally is not handled like that, just too strong.
J.J. Standring does well to get that one off. Heavy rush by the Huskers. Newcomb returns it to the 49. Standring does well to off a 37-yarder. Again, Nebraska will take over in great shape and leading 7-3 in San Antonio. In its holiday splendor and completely populated by red-clad Husker fans and purple-clad Northwestern fans. Huge turnout by both contingents. So their allotments here in San Antonio. A 73 lead for Nebraska with 6:13 to go in the first quarter. Every time they've had it, they take over terrific field position from the 49 here. New backfield, Judd Davies, the fullback in front of Terrell Buckhalter. First pass for Eric Crouch. He goes deep down the middle. Incomplete. Intended for Troy Hasselbrook.
Crouch's pass intended for
Eric Crouch, during the year, hit less than 50% of his passes in the wins, 52.5%, but way below par in the 2 losses.
The bottom line is here, when it's within the framework of the offense with a good running attack, he can pass well. When they force the pass, he doesn't do as well.
Shorter toss this time, and the out is caught out of bounds by Matt Davison, their senior. And for the 3rd straight year, their leading receiver. Down below in the shelter for you.
Danger injury of this game. John Gibson hobbled off the field in a lot of pain. You saw him go down. The training staff tells me they are pretty sure he has a torn ACL. He is done for the day. He was crying in disappointment when he found the news. In a lot of pain, but more emotional than anything, Dave.
Because he's a senior. This is it for John Gibson. That is a shame. Nebraska High School Player of the Year. 3rd and 10. 2 tight ends. Crouch feels the blitz, and a one-handed grab. Going to be very close to the first down for John Bowling.
They put it back down where his knee hit. He's going to be about a yard short.
I'll tell you, big Dominic Raiola shows why he's an All-American center. This is tough. If you're a big guy, he's got to come out this way after snapping the ball and protect his quarterback. Watch this. Now, that's a defensive back. Boom. What a great job. That's a pass block.
Why not go for it? On 4th and 1 down here, and they do, and easily reaching the 40 is Buckhalter. And Nebraska earns another set of downs.
Well, Nebraska came out in this series without a doubt. It was scripted to throw. They threw the 2 straight, and then it was 3rd and 10, so they were pretty much going to throw on that. See now if they stay in that or if they go back to mixing it up a little more.
What I saw in this, Mike, and when you coach, you really watch your quarterbacks in warm-ups. Crouch was sharp in warm-ups. He is not sharp now. It's adrenaline. When he gets calmed down, he'll probably do better.
Out of the eye, Crouch. Never had a chance to get a pitch off that time, and Dwayne Missouri, consensus first team All Big Ten, celebrating a big tackle at home at a Roosevelt High School here in San Antonio.
The biggest enemy of the option is penetration. You cannot run the option and let this kind of guy in your backfield. Boom, he whips his blocker. He's in the backfield. Quarterback's on the ground. You got nothing. He never got to his pitch man because Dwayne Missouri was too strong, too active. Nice play.
Loss of 4. Shotgun 2nd and 14. Much better protection this time over the middle. Davison reaches up to make the grab just inside the 40. It'll be 3rd and 9. Rashad Morton made the tackle. Nebraska offensively led the nation in rushing for the 14th time, for the 6th time in the last 9 years. Passing, though, the worst in 19 years. 111th in the country. They're still ranked 6th total offense, 4th scoring offense.
And as I said earlier, against Oklahoma in that loss, they were forced to just throw the ball, and Crouch really didn't perform well in that kind of a circumstance.
On 3rd and 9, batted down and intercepted. Billy Silva, the diving pick for the Wildcats.
Northwestern thrives on hanging around. Is what their coaching staff calls hanging in there. Silva's been getting knocked around while this big Cornhusker offensive line go up and down the field, and he's hanging in the middle of the field, reading the quarterback's eyes. The ball tipped, nice athletic move by a big tough guy from San Diego, and the first turnover of the game goes the Wildcats' way, and they're going to need those. Hanging in the game, they believe they're in better shape in the 4th quarter.
Napoleon Harris, the linebacker, got a hand on that pass by Crouch. His fellow backer Silva with the interception and flags, all kinds of movement, all kinds of discussion.
Vandenbosch needs one of those flags so he can throw it, because he is so convinced that the guy across from him flinched just a little.
Party snap, offside, defense, 5-yard penalty, remains 1st down.
Now let's see what happened. All he did was get down in a 3-point stance. That's legal. It is a judgment on the part of the official. Is the guy doing it in an attempt to deceive, or is he not? That was a pretty gentle get down in a 3-point stance.
Stop, shovel pass, Anderson, quick reaction, Deion Booker.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, number 14, Deion Booker, the free safety, is keeping his defense in the game, and that he must do. He's made nice plays on Kustok, this time on Damian Anderson, and Anderson is a load in the open field. Booker's having a big night. Those safeties must function to control the ground game of Northwestern.
Booker started 7 of the first 8 games, replaced by Troy Watchorn, the senior. Simmons, open field move on DeJuan Gross, and he reaches Husker territory at the 48. The dangerous Sam Simmons for 13 yards.
Well, again, keeping that defense guessing, mismatching, trying to get a little bit in open field. They want to, because they feel they have the speed. They want to get the corner and try and beat them that way. They're not going to run over any of these guys, so they get the corner and get the linebacker stationary and late reacting.
And there was no contain back there, Mike. Now, Kustok will change this play 2 or 3. He's looking back at the sideline now for the possibility of yet another change.
No room. Damian Anderson, the latest victim of Kyle Vandenbosch, who's played in the first quarter of his life so far.
That he is amazing. And, you know, it's his last game. And he knows he's a senior. This is his last game, and he is just going all out.
Watch him come down the line. Now, this is Kustok's read when they have that read situation. Well, we're not going to get a chance to run it because
that offense,
Northwestern's back up there.
Get 100 snaps off if they can. About every 18 seconds. Kustok, delayed pitch. Anderson breaking one tackle and run out of bounds at the 45. He ran through Mark Vedral.
Now, on the play previous, Vanden Bosch came flat down the line of scrimmage and caught the play from behind. Kustok, here's Vanden Bosch. He's going to come right down the line of scrimmage and make this tackle. In the future, Kustok will watch him, and when he takes that angle, Kustok will keep the ball and run the area where he just vacated. It's an amazing new concept.
Huskers creep up, back off. 3rd and 8. Quarterback draw. Kustok for the first down. Knew exactly how far he had to get, and he slides with a couple of feet to spare.
Now, Mike, let me make a prediction in reverse. I bet you hated to play against a guy like Kustok.
I never liked to play against this type of an offense because as a defense, they're looking to the sideline, looking for the defensive call. They're not used to that. It's not a normal defensive huddle.
Fake to Anderson. Throw incomplete. And he had David Farman open too, the tight end. And Northwestern, with this 5-wide look that they go to, got to get something through the air. After all, it was Walker studying last offseason the St. Louis Rams to get a lot of his passing ideas, Clemson to get a lot of his running ideas, kind of an amalgamation of those two systems. Everything so far has been on the ground, and this time there's nothing on the ground.
What Nebraska is saying by scheme in this game, meaning gap control, you're not going to get the ball to Anderson. You're not going to kill us with that guy that ran for 1,914 yards and 22 touchdowns. We're going to make you run it, number 10. We're going to make Kustok win the game with his legs.
Greg Bowl replaced the legendary 18-year defensive coordinator Charlie McBride this year. 3rd and 11, they're coming. Swing pass over the middle. And unable to fight his way through any traffic, Simmons. Joe Walker made sure of that.
Now, this is a defense in Nebraska that statistically they weren't up there where they're used to being, and they kind of took that to heart. They wanted to prove a little bit tonight that, hey, they do think they're one of the best defenses in the country. One thing they do very well, Bill, is they pursue to the ball. That was that slant screen over the middle, and the D lineman rushing and get back very quickly.
Year after year, if you study the top teams in America, Nebraska will be the best at running to the football.
Number 25, Joe Walker, the deep return man for Nebraska.
And ring fakes, throws deep, interference, the easiest call possible. Kehoe Craver, mercy. Could he have popped Jason Wright more obviously?
Well, I tell you why. He thought it was going to be a punt. He thought the guy was just coming down the field to cover the punt, and he was just blocking him. That's exactly what Craver thought down at the bottom of the screen. He thinks he's covering the punt. He thinks he's blocking right now. He has no idea what's going on.
And that's the whole theory. Kenny Hatfield taught me this play about 15 years ago. The guy that's covering your outside man doesn't know that the ball's been thrown. Very good, Mike. Very good and true. So you get the penalty, and Craver's lucky that this is not the NFL rule where the ball will be put down there about the 7-yard line.
3rd Nebraska penalty. He thinks he's made a great play. Walker's celebrating, jumping up and down.
He's thinking he got a great block.
The worst thing you get out of this deal is an interference call. What a brilliant time to make a call by Randy Walker and his staff.
Back in business at the 21. Like Nebraska to draw flags. Kustok through the middle. Booker is there again, and he foils what appeared to be a big gainer for Zach Kustok. Nebraska is a team that simply will not beat itself with penalties. Tied with Baylor, the fewest in the Big 12, and a trademark for Frank Solich and Tom Osborne's teams before him, but only 3 or 30 tonight. Kustok had only 3. Maybe the final play of the first quarter. Slant in and a grab inside the 10. Toonley Patrick, the redshirt freshman from Brooklyn, feeding Erwin Sweeney. As they quickly get the chains moved inside the 10-yard line, where it's 1st and goal. We're stuck at 7 seconds, and they get one more snap off.
I think they'll let this one go.
No reason to hurry. Kustak's 4th completion of the night has Northwestern at the end of the quarter trailing 7-3, but in position to take their first lead in the Sylvania Alamo Bowl in San Antonio. Starts with a precarious 7-3 Nebraska lead. The Wildcats have them backed up 1st and goal at the Husker 9. Damian Anderson in the first quarter. Not really a factor. Carried it 4 times, only 4 yards, 1 catch, 1 yard for the nation's 2nd leading rusher.
Changing the play again.
They've got 4-3. And the pitch, Anderson, end in, strung out for a loss. Keo Craver, who's pedaling, is responsible for the Wildcats still having this possession. Tries to make up for it.
Northwestern on the year in the red zone's done a good job. They've scored 43 out of the 48 times they've been down here. 35 of them touchdowns. That's almost 73% touchdowns, and that's tough for these spread offenses.
Fake to Anderson in the roll. Kustak looking for Damian, corner of the end zone, and a horrific pass. I mean, not within 5 yards of Anderson.
Well, he threw it away.
Well, he actually had Teddy, the way he was rolling, he actually had Teddy Johnson open for a minute. Just didn't go to him.
Well, in that pattern, aren't you trying to get a jump ball situation to let Anderson at least have a play at it?
I think as accurate as Kustak has been this year, I hope he wasn't trying to complete that one.
3rd and goal at the 10. Pump fake now in business for real. Corner of the end zone. This is a touchdown for Teddy Johnson.
Now, David, let me tell you something.
He was trying to complete that one.
Did you guys rehearse that?
Teddy Johnson with his team high 7th touchdown catch of the year. First lead of the night for the Wildcats.
You had Keo Craver and Deion Booker both looking at themselves after that one like, who had him?
Johnson battled injuries his first 3 years. Got in shape this year, reduced his 40-yard dash time by better than 0.1. Now numbers 4-6. The extra point by 10 long makes it 10-7.
Well, this worked because of the pump fake and what it does to the defense. Watch that. He pump fakes and he frees it. Oh, right there. Keo Craver steps up for the pump fake, and right now he's turning around yelling, help, 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 and there's no help there.
Kustak has a mastery of this technique. Watch, that's a very convincing fake. It doesn't look so from this angle, but if you're that DB, you jump on it because you don't want the guy to catch the ball inside the 5, and you end up with him in the back of the end zone. A very difficult touch pass to the back corner.
He was going to get some late help from Deion Booker, was Craver, but the pump fake happened so well that Johnson was open so quick.
But see, that's the price you pay for having Booker up in there playing the run.
Right.
He's really an extra middle linebacker, and they're playing like a 7 diamond, and he couldn't get out there to help him.
Like a what?
7 diamond.
Is that a card game?
That was a College Park High School defense where I was the middle linebacker. 1955.
More on that later as time allows. Like, he just leaves you hanging. 14-16, second quarter. The average start line right there, represented by that red stripe, has been a dream. Their own 44-yard line is where the average possession has started for Nebraska. Continue to track that tonight. Has been a big advantage for Nebraska until now. They trail 10-7. Randy Stella deep with Joe Walker, who returns it from the 17. And a huge return it is to the 49. Even better than they've been started. A return of 34 yards.
They got to like those guys down the truck down there, putting that red line on the 44. They got right by it. That worked. I don't like it when a plan comes together.
Is a corn head like a cone head? Sort of.
You're asking me? Why do you think I would know? Don't answer. Never mind. Forget I asked it.
There's a difference in a meathead. The face paint is effective but it doesn't make him into a meathead. We haven't gotten to you yet, Mike.
Long, the kicker, limped off. Maybe something to watch. Got to get in on the hit. Crouch option right. Wilkie, turn it up. And get gone. Touchdown, Eric Crouch. 50 yards right back in front of Nebraska.
You're seeing some of the differences when Northwestern tries to run that option type. They don't get all the blocks, and there's a lot of Nebraska players there. Nebraska, they get on their blocks. And there's a lot of open holes when Crouch decides to keep it or pitch it. They're usually only dealing with one man between the quarterback and the pitch man. In that instance, offense is usually going to win.
Fourth National League touchdowns on the ground for Crouch. He led all quarterbacks in scoring touchdowns. The extra point good by Brown. It took one play for Crouch to get the Cornhuskers the lead back. Momentum shift. Eric Crouch took a matter of seconds to get Nebraska back on top after they trailed ever so briefly. Now Northwestern waiting for this kick, and their average start for their early possessions has been their own 22. Just right at half. Where Nebraska's taken over, they're on 44. They'll start from the 20 as Ianni takes the touchback.
Well, again, you've got to have people available to take the quarterback and the pitchman. There's two guys there, Silva and Wheeler, that one of the two have to get on the pitchman. But look at Wistrom come out, 87.
I got your back.
Takes on the block right there, just driving him, staying on the block. Silva gets his legs cut off from under him, and Wistrom just drives Wheeler out of the picture.
So Kustok and the Wildcats offense turn to respond. Take the give, open, but having to dive to make that catch, Sam Simmons had no chance of getting the yardage after the reception.
A couple of things really important here. First of all, Nebraska has demonstrated whether or not they were interested in playing this game, don't you think, Mike?
Oh, yeah, I think they answered that question. Second drive.
Yeah, and second thing, this Northwestern team has been in this kind of situation over and over at Wisconsin, at Michigan, and they have learned to answer, and that's what they have to do again and again.
I'm going to say Simmons bobbled that and really didn't complete, so 2nd and 10. With so many calls and never come up against the play clock. First time Damian Anderson shows up tonight. He's good for a gain of 15. Deion Booker chased him down. And a marker down. So Damian Anderson, his contributions had been limited to 4 yards on his first 4 carries, and sees that this is coming back.
Yeah, I think Keo Craver, number 3, got held.
Legal block in the back. Offense, 10-yard penalty. The spot of the foul. Repeat, 2nd down.
Downstairs to Michelle.
Well, Dave, another injury. Northwestern place kicker Tim Long. He's injured his left knee. That is his kicking leg. He's been waiting to see how it feels. They have had him kick and run around. They're going to wait and determine exactly what it is and if he can keep going.
5th most accurate kicker in school history. Nightmare scenario, and the kicker has to make a tackle. Mark Vedral making this tackle on Damian Anderson, so right back into the frustration mode. In the losses for Northwestern this year, Damian Anderson, in 2 of the 3, was held in check. TCU held him to 90 yards, 18 carries. LaDainian Tomlinson, the only man to outrush him at 243. Purdue, 17 carries, 55 yards for Anderson. He did manage 128 in the late loss to Iowa. No factor here yet. Deep ball, harmlessly incomplete, way over Derek Thompson.
Kyle Vanden Bosch is absolutely hitting the quarterback or the running back or somebody on every single play. He is absolutely playing out of his mind tonight. Again, on Brockmeyer, this time just straight over him and then goes underneath him. Leon Brockmeyer's got to be more stout in there and start jamming him a little better.
Good kick, very high by Standring. Walker with a flag down, looked unsuccessfully for a corner to turn at midfield, a 35-yard kick. Just a 5-yard return and another penalty.
Yeah, it's going to be a block in the back on the return, and the ref might have set a record for throwing the marker. I think it went about 25 yards.
Didn't put as many BBs in his. He's getting good hang time on it.
You want to make sure he didn't throw it in somebody's face.
No, absolutely.
There is no foul on the play. First down.
Just wanted to throw it.
All for naught. 14-10 Nebraska early in the second. In that case, just blocks from here.
Can you imagine taking off those decorations and packing them away?
With about 1,000 of my best friends, only then. A rather sizable job from day after Thanksgiving when they go up to right after the New Year when they go down. Back to work through the middle. Dan Alexander, the I-back, inside the 20. Wheeler chases him down, a gain of 33.
Jason Schwab, number 65. Russ Hochstein, number 55. Dominic Raiola, number 54. Absolutely mauling people off the ball. Watch the movement in this direction. This is how you make the big holes. And then the big man runs right by the safeties. He's so fast.
Look at that. I love how he dips his shoulder at the end. He wasn't going out of bounds.
He looks him up.
Number 15, Alexander again. There's some yardage after contact. Half his production out of 1,154 yards during the regular season after he took a hit, and he powers 14 yards.
Wow, it's very difficult to tackle with people drilling you. Right now, this one is the fullback, 15 Miller. Watch him lead through. Bam! On Silva, taking him out of the play. Alexander doesn't get touched till he's 6 yards down the field, and that's 245 moving forward.
And he managed to hammer every member of the secondary when he got there.
First and goal at the 2. Why not? One more. 3 carries. Dan Alexander finds the end zone.
And it's the same story up front. Wow. Mike, you're talking about the work of the offensive lineman. It's just beautiful if you're a Nebraska person or if you're Dan Alexander. When we spoke with him, he's such an engaging young man. He said, Dan, do you realize that you're so much faster than you look? He said, you know, I really worry. I think I look slow. I said, Dan, you're not slow.
2 scores already. Josh Brown. Got to get that streak up to 102 consecutive PATs. 21-10.
Alexander jumped over him that time. He didn't run through anybody. It's about a 3-inch vertical leap right here by the big guy. The O-line just coming off the ball, taking it back. Alexander says, whoop, all right, I'll take it over the top. Nobody to hit.
Well, there are pancakes. There are pancakes happening all across the front. Watch the guys in black going on the ground, being driven down by those same offensive linemen we just highlighted the play before.
Jason Schwab, the right tackle, he blocked down and nailed 2. Took him out.
So we have the 1-play 50-yard Eric Crouch scoring drive, and we have the 3-play Dan Alexander scoring drive.
Well, this is a team averaging 349 yards on the ground.
And they're about halfway there. 171 rushing yards. The question everybody had about Nebraska, would they suffer the letdown, not even having made the Big 12 championship game, much less the Orange Bowl, the goal at the start of the season, or the preseason #1.
Well, if this is a letdown, I would really hate to play against them when they were fired up.
See Dominic Raiola on the sideline? He's losing his mind out on the sideline.
The guy's mad at somebody. He's not a gentle Hawaiian.
Wow. Sort of a letdown. What you got is frustrations being let out. Chase long. As his hit returned by Ayeni out to the 25.
27 yards.
So now Northwestern, which for about a second and a half led this game at 10-7, back on their heels. They've got to get some type of offensive production reestablished.
Well, for two reasons. One, obviously they need to get and score some points, but for two, this Northwestern defense is getting knocked around right now, and they need some time on the bench. So this Northwestern offense has got to put some kind of a drive together.
One of the big disadvantages of a fast-paced offense is the defense doesn't get to rest if the offense isn't productive.
And the special teams limp off too. Yanni, who just returned it. Kustok slant in, almost intercepted, and if Carlos Pope gets it, he runs 25 yards untouched. Down below to Michelle.
Well, you guys talking about Northwestern's offense. They came off the field after their last possession pretty dejected. Leon Brockmeyer very upset with himself. Damian Anderson kind of upset with the line, too. He said to 319-pound left guard Lance Clellan, "You're the biggest one out there. Just do it." Zach Kustok as well, getting in the faces of the linemen.
Easier said than done. Just do it. Kustak's pass again batted down. Craver this time leaping in front of Teddy Johnson.
Wow, what a play by Craver. And again, Kustok getting pressure in his face, and this has been happening all night long. This earlier in the game, Vandenbosch, we mentioned his name a ton tonight. Lohr with the sack. Vandenbosch again getting in his face. Kustok is not able to set and throw. He's always on his back.
A rather big 3rd and 10. 11.5 minutes still to go in the second quarter. Given the trend of the contest at the moment. Pump fake. Kustok loops this one for a completion and a first down. Anderson
Kustak's pass
to the 32, and I beg your pardon, they're going to mark him out well short. 32-yard line. Not enough for Anderson.
Boy, Bill,
keep the drive going.
You see when he had time. Boy, what a nice throw.
Better job by Brockmeyer. He's keeping his pads square, Mike. If that tackle turns his shoulders, he'll get beat inside or outside every time. He kept his pads square to the line of scrimmage.
Didn't want it, but another 3 and out for the Cats. Standring for Walker. Finds the corner on the left side up to the 43. Again, Nebraska has a short field. New Year's Day on ABC Sports, the granddaddy of them all. The Rose Bowl at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific in Pasadena. And the matchup this year, Drew Brees goes out with his number 14th ranked Purdue Boilermakers against number 4 Washington. Brees over 3,300 passing yards, rushed for over 500, and won the Davey O'Brien Award as the nation's top quarterback. And the Huskies have a fine one of their own, and Marcus Tuiasosopo, the only team to beat number 2 Miami, New Year's Day. The Wildcat defense, a stout statement. Buckhalter hit at the line of scrimmage.
Football is a game of ball security, field position, and hitting. The field position is overwhelmingly in the favor of Nebraska. Northwestern's actually lucky that the score isn't more than this, Mike.
Oh, I absolutely agree, and this is a huge, huge test here for the Northwestern defense with their team down by 11.
But Nebraska, when they're up 11, that's when they like to pass. They don't necessarily have to. Crouch. Put down. Was that a face mask? Like it might have been, but in Missouri, but there's no marker.
I think he got him by like the shoulder pad collar.
He did.
What an impressive play again. Missouri, 14 tackles behind the line. This is a second one tonight. This is how you beat the option. Up the field. Whoa. Wow. If he had a wingspan of about 70-some inches, it's about 2 inches more now. That's how it's stretched out on that one.
Missouri, as a senior, a holdover from the first rise of the Cats. 96, his freshman year, the last Big Ten championship. Timeout, 9:57 to go in the half. 10-7 down, 21-10 up. 9:57 to go in the first half. That, by the way, on further review, was definitely face masking on Missouri. Didn't get called. And the top ground offense in the country is ground out 168 so far. 17 rushes, only 5 passes wide go against it when it's running the way it is. But a passing down here on 3rd and 13. Play action for Crouch. And behind Matt Davison. Covered pretty well by Harold Blackman.
Yeah, but again, when Nebraska is in a pure passing situation, that is not the strength of this offense. Crouch, a heck of a quarterback on the run. He actually, I think, throws better on the run than in the pocket.
If you'd have seen him warm up, you'd have thought this guy's a polished drop-back passer, but he does not throw the same way in the game as he does in warm-ups. How many 3rd and 13s do you think this team's been in?
The net punt average tonight on that first kick, obviously 42 for Haydenfeld, and we'll track that all night as well. Sam Simmons gives Northwestern some of its best opening field position at the 28. 52 on the punt by Haydenfeld. That comes back 20 and a late flag.
Well, the Northwestern defense did their job. Now that offense has got to, they showed flashes. They've shown flashes of big plays, but then they've just either killed themselves by a mistake or the Nebraska defense has just shut them down.
And so much for the relatively good field position. All weekend on ESPN Classic, we celebrate college football's bowl season. Revisit the...
Did you get on Flutie?
None. We won. I did block a punt in the game.
How many sacks did you get on Flutie?
I got none, Bill. Thanks for asking.
Send it quickly down below to Michelle Tafoya.
Well, guys, while the Nebraska defense was on the bench, they were working to stay focused because after forcing a couple of 3-and-outs, they were getting rest, but the defensive coaches were warning them against letdowns. But I got to tell you, there were quite a few smiles popping up on this Nebraska defensive bench.
I bet there's a huge grin on Vanden Bosch's face at the moment.
Boy, he just should be. And at this point, we've talked about how Leon Brockmeyer's just not been able to block him, and they haven't helped him at all. It's not really in the scheme of this offense that be able to help the end. The offensive lineman has to make the play. They don't really chip him with the backs because they're in the route.
Yeah, if you're not playing with 2 backs or a tight end, you just can't do it.
Northwestern calls a timeout. 9:41 and a half. With Bill Curry, Mike Olick, and Michelle Tafoya, Dave Barnett, in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, 21-10 Nebraska. And starting from their 4, the Wildcats, Kustok throwing deep one-on-one out of his end zone, and incomplete, intended for Johnson, covered every step of the way by Craig. And our Aflac trivia question for tonight. Northwestern has just 1 bowl victory in its history. What is the only current major conference program that has never won a bowl game?
Oh, that's easy.
It is?
I have no idea.
Me neither.
Actually, you could use a little logic, probably figure it out.
Like I said.
Northwestern's lone victory with 49 rows over California. Kustok pitching in his own end zone, and Anderson just barely manages to avoid a safety. Vanden Bosch having the half of his life now.
You know what is amazing about him is we've seen him get up the field to get in Kustok's face. This now running play, watch him go side to side, up the field, good hand placement, then side to side. A good job of breaking down the field off the block. Very, very quick. Not big, he's only about 260, but he plays with great technique and speed.
They're coming after Kustok on 3rd and 13 from his half-yard line. Runs out of room, has to throw it away. And the Nebraska defense, fellas, having no trouble maintaining their intensity.
I tell you, these guys came here to prove something, whatever it is, for Nebraska tradition, or we deserve to be in the Orange Bowl, or whatever it is. They are playing inspired football, and nobody has to tell you that if you've been watching.
I think they're going to get good field position again, Dave.
I haven't thrown to their best yet. Standing right back up against his end line, and a high short kick fielded at the 40 by Bobby Newcomb. A huge block. Here he goes. Newcomb inside the 10.
This is a guy that leads Johnny Rogers' all-time Nebraska record by 1.5 yards. His average 17.8 yards is 1.5 better than the great Heisman Trophy winner Johnny Rogers. That's how good Newcomb has been. Beautiful peripheral vision, the capacity to see where the open spaces are and to use his blockers. That's Bobby Newcomb. And to think this guy was a quarterback at one time.
Ends his career as he began it as a wingback. Crouch will turn it up and get nailed after a pickup of 1. Now, part of Nebraska's recent war, the unselfishness displayed by Bobby Newcomb when things weren't going as well as expected offensively early in the '99 season, a couple games in. Newcomb made way for Crouch, moved back to his old wingback position, and they took off and almost ran the table.
And he did it with the right attitude, and you have to really credit the coaching staff. Frank Solich, the head coach, personally intervened, spoke with both players, and made sure that everybody understood that it was best for the team, and it worked.
2nd and goal to go from the 7. Crouch with a play fake. Looks up, only one purple jersey, and Raheem Covington does manage to prevent a touchdown with the 2.
Well, I'll tell you what, this is some impressive defense right now by Northwestern. Their special teams put them in a bad situation, and right now they've answered the call. Playing with a little more attitude right now, a little more pop. We've seen them outmanned. We've seen a lot of white shirts on the purple shirts, or the black shirts. Colorblind problem, man.
Purple and black. Well, they got some purple in them.
Number 2, a leap by Corell Buckhalter, and he got in. Touchdown.
And there's some torsos that's got some purple on them now, under the shoulder pads and the jersey, because they're getting bruised and they're getting knocked off the ball. This is nothing but old down and dirty, short yardage, goal line football, man on man. Get your pads down. Let's see who's the toughest. Watch the line move backwards and give Buckhalter room to get up and over from a good launching spot. That's what goal line football is about.
After looking at a 20-point unanswered streak by Nebraska, now the special teams for Northwestern trying to get a little antsy in their desire to block this kick, and there's movement and a flag before the ball is even snapped.
You said it about the goal line. You're exactly right, Bill. It's low man wins.
Prior to the snap, offside, defense, half the distance to the goal, retry.
And what needed to happen in that situation when the D-line gets down low is the linebackers have to be able to make the play whenever you have a jumper, and they weren't able to do it.
Now set for John Garrison's snap. Dan Haydenfeld's hold, and Josh Brown's 4th PAT of the night. So Crouch, Alexander, and Buckhalter in succession with Nebraska touchdowns after the brief 10-7 Northwestern lead. All right, again, Northwestern, 1 bowl win about 52 years ago in the Rose. The only current major conference program that has never won a bowl game, that would be Rutgers. They've only been in one at home, the '78 Garden State Bowl at Giant Stadium. They lost to Arizona State. I give you long enough, you figure.
You know what? I was working my way down.
I knew you were.
And I was probably about 40, 45 away from that one. You know, the radio show I do with Mike Greenberg on ESPN, we do a trivia thing called the Bob Picozzi, an update guy comes on and does his Did You Nosy, and I never get them right. Never, ever, ever, ever. And
I was 1 for 1.
You were, and so there was no way I was ever going to even get close to getting any of these questions right.
But he asked who scored a touchdown in the game that I played in.
Yeah,
Super Bowl 5.
Yeah, you think that was a setup?
Well, I didn't help set it up.
Number 18, Teddy Johnson, the deep return man for Northwestern.
Chase Long has been kicking him long all night. And again, Northwestern will have to settle for starting at the 20.
Another major contrast that we ought to point out is the performance of the special teams and just little details like Nebraska kicking the ball into the end zone. So Northwestern's always starting at its 20. By contrast, Northwestern's tried to do the little chip shot thing, has not covered it well. They end up playing from their own 40-yard line or the other team's 40, and it's cost them.
It's a great point, Coach.
Thank you.
Kustok were better than 6 of 19 through the air. You look at what Northwestern's offense has produced all year long, and you have a lot of cause for optimism that he may get there going, but nothing so far through the air, and now there's not much for him on the ground. Flags after the hit by Vanden Bosch, his latest tackle.
You see all those gashes in Vanden Bosch's helmet? Those didn't come from dragging his helmet to practice down the sidewalk.
That's from sticking it right in the opponent's face. Boy, that's adding insult to injury. This guy, and a lot of times this happens on backside plays. He goes unblocked.
But they've got to.
Well, they were trying to. The blocker missed him. The running back came in. You see him diving in there and missed the block.
They've got a way to deal with that. We pointed out earlier that Kustok can actually read him, and when he comes down inside like that, they've got a naked bootleg where Kustok reads it and comes out and takes advantage of it. But they haven't.
They need to run it, Bill. They need to run it.
I agree.
He's reading straight out of Stephen King. Half pay. The goal to mark off. And they go from the 10, slant in. That play had some potential, but incomplete. Intended for John Schweigert and Michelle Tafoya.
Dave, Mike, Bill, this is not a news flash, but the Northwestern bench is pretty mad right now. We've got profanity, we've got players yelling at each other, but we also have players saying, hey, this is Michigan all over again. Remember, comebacks were a big part of their regular season.
Michelle, can you tell us what they were saying?
I'd be fired, and so would our producer. But that might not be a bad thing.
That would be a very bad thing.
No, we want to keep Tom Archer down
both
there.
of you.
We want to keep you down there.
We want to keep the both of you.
You've established the general thought there. 3rd and 20. And the pass to him again. It's almost like he's playing a different game from all the people blocking him.
Bill, at this point, don't you have to change your scheme a little bit and chip him? You've got to get some help on him. Brockmeyer not getting the job done. It's one-on-one every time, and he's beating him.
When you shape an offensive system, you shape it based on certain assumptions. The assumption at Northwestern is we can block them as long as they're bringing only 4. It isn't working tonight. It has worked all year prior to this.
Adjust.
The Standring kicked one off the side of his foot. He didn't need that. And what he'll get is out of bounds at the 26, a 21-yard shank by Standring.
Let me just complete the thought. It's entirely possible that there is not a way in their system to assist a situation like this when somebody's just getting beat up personally.
But that's got to be a flaw, Bill. I mean, don't you have to be ready for every situation? If your man is getting taken behind the woodshed right now, you've got to be able to adjust to that.
A good offense has to be like a good religion. You have to have an answer for everything. But it looks to you and me as if Northwestern does not have an answer for this. I don't know who they're going to put over there because they don't have enough people.
The shortest field yet faced by the Huskers. Alexander running over purple jerseys to the 10. A wrecking ball, 15 yards.
Rashad Morton this time, number 24, the free safety, got some of Alexander's shoulder pad in the mouth. Dan's a gentle, nice person off the field. On the field, he likes to look up little guys. Boom, just like that. This guy's going to play for a long time, and I get a feeling he's going to do something else special in his life. Bright guy, very impressive.
About 9 carries, average of 13.8, 2 touchdowns already. Only 11. Willie Miller, the fullback.
That's the fullback,
Just inside the 10.
Well, let me show you something about Alexander when he runs. And remember, I talked about the offensive line and the blocking at the beginning of the game. There's a common theme here when you see Alexander running the ball. Let's see if we can all figure it out. There's a touchdown. Breaks it outside around ends. And then another touchdown run. The common theme here, nobody's touching him. He's not getting touched until he's way downfield. That line's doing a great job.
Oh, Alexander never had control, and Wayne, Missouri takes it away for the Wildcats.
And if you're Northwestern, you just have to pray that Nebraska's going to do something to make a mistake, and maybe just a slightest edge of complacency, even unconscious. You put the ball on the ground. Now Northwestern's got to produce something.
Their second turnover. Hardly a surprise Missouri's around it. He led the Big Ten, forcing 5 fumbles. This was Unforced error by Alexander, but Missouri right there in the neighborhood of the big play.
Well, he was on that thing like a duck on a June bug, and that's exactly the way they've got to play defense this whole night, just fighting and scratching to stay alive.
They have averaged gaining 1.7 yards on first down. A little bit better than that, but not much better by Anderson on this first down. Thursday, January 11th at 10 p.m. Join us as we announce the nominees for the ESPY Awards. The nominations coming up. Well, they try to get Anderson established. 2 carries, he picks up right at 6 yards.
One of the big differences you're seeing in these running games was when Nebraska runs, that offensive line is moving Northwestern defense off the ball. When Northwestern is running the ball, they are more finesse blockers. They're not blowing people off the line of scrimmage, and Nebraska is controlling the line of scrimmage. Plus, they're blocking out of 2-point stances. It's very hard to run block out of a 2-point stance.
The least you want after a takeaway by your defense is a first down, and they don't even come close under two-stock keeper Jamie Burrow, the middle linebacker, has it.
And that's one of the few plays that the middle linebacker has been required to make. I said that the middle linebacker, thinking mostly of Carlos Polk, who is the starter, is going to have to dominate tonight. He has not had to do that because they haven't been able to break the line of scrimmage. And, Mike, you're exactly right. Dominant performance, both sides of the ball, by the big guys.
Sandring, after the shank, follows up with a much more representative effort, but Walker caught it on the run, breaks the tackle, now hemmed in, outnumbered at the 46. That punt 38 and the return
38
7.
yards on the punt by Sandring.
Tell you what, I don't know if Northwestern defense can be sprinting on the field too much anymore. They've been on the field a long time, and in the first quarter, Northwestern actually had about a 3-minute time advantage, but that's certainly not the case in the second quarter.
One thing that is continuing for them, they were plus 11 for the year turnover ratio. They're plus 2 tonight, although nothing to show for it at this point.
You get a turnover for your offense, nothing happens. That's another little demoralizing feature.
Nice one interception. Alexander one fumble. Great fake carried out by Eric Crouch. And a gain of 13. Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Dave, nothing to show for it yet, but defensive coordinator Jerry Brown told the Northwestern players after they forced that last turnover, that was one big step. Let's keep taking one big step at a time. Keep fighting, and keep in mind 11. We've got to get 11 to the ball.
Brown saying before this game that they simply could not possibly duplicate the Nebraska speed in practice. But to stay in this game, they had to swarm. They had to get turnovers, and they've got a couple. Stay disciplined against the option. Not such a high grade there. Off tackle, defended well. Alexander to the 40. And let's check in for a look at what Reese Davis has in store for us at the half.
All right, Dave, coming up on the Dodge Different halftime report, a couple of thrillers in the NFL playoffs. We'll give you some highlights on that. Also, look ahead to the Orange Bowl. Steve Cyphers and Shelley Smith are there. And also, halftime bowl blitz. Now, history could be repeating itself for Lou Holtz. Rod Gilmore's here. We'll see you in a bit.
All right, Reese. We have 2:47 to go before halftime. And it's 2nd and 9. From the 40 to Northwestern. Wildcats creeping up. Short roll, pass, diving catch. Nicely done by Troy Hasselbrook.
And did you see Crouch get his shoulders around and deliver that football with precision and touch? That's how he threw in warm-ups, and that's what he's capable of. His coaches have got him over there just saying, Eric, all you got to do is calm down now. Yes, you are a tough guy, but just get those shoulders around, follow through. Nice throw, nice catch.
First catch of the year by Hasselbrook, sophomore to Lincoln.
It looks like he's done it before.
It's the 3rd completion by Crouch. Good gracious.
How's that for a quarterback sneak? I mean, you got road grade.
Did you draw that up for 4 yards?
Lord have mercy. And I was a center. I wish once in my life we could have looked like that on a quarterback sneak.
And understand that this Nebraska offense has been doing this for years. Since 1978, they've been in the top 6 every year in rushing offense. I mean, they're a machine year in, year out.
Friends come and friends go, and Nebraska runs through all of them. Wide open, broken up. John Bowling thought he had 6, and Harold Blackman, who set a single-season school record last year, breaking up 17 passes, prevented 6.
Bill, he should have had 6. I mean, we had him wide open, underthrew the ball.
Exactly what we've been talking about. The play action off the option is so deceptive for the secondary. There's nobody with the receiver. All he's got to do is lay it out. But you see, his receiver has to let up, and that allows Blackman time to get back. He sprints 20 yards to get to that football. It should have been no question that it was an easy touch for John Bowling.
Blackman, the career leader in passes broken up, worked long and hard on his hands during the summer, and he the second of the conference with 5 picks. Close to that one. Pump fake. Now another man all alone, going deep and uncatchable for Davison.
Well, he had another one. Now, that time he did have Kevin Bentley in his face, but another pass, another off-the-mark pass by our Crouch.
Well, in Eric's defense, he's not a quarterback that goes on the practice field and works for an hour and a half a day on dropping back and throwing the ball. He works on running the option, deception, some of the things that we've seen work so beautifully for them, and then he commits a lesser amount of time to the passing game, and so he's just not as precise. But he is capable of it. I saw him do it.
Haven't been too many 3rd and longs for the Huskers. They blitz him on 3rd and 10 for Newcomb. Off the fingertips again of Blackman.
And this kind of series is emblematic of what you said early in the game, Mike. If they get in a spot where they have to throw, he's in trouble because he's just not polished at those little fine things, and mainly just hitting receivers. He had receivers open for touchdowns twice in this drive.
Now, Josh Brown was a major question mark much of the year for Nebraska. He did win the Colorado game on the last play, a first in school history. And Nebraska calls time here. His career long field goal, 42 yards in the conference championship on this field against Texas last year.
Did you know
Nebraska has used its second timeout? Josh Brown would have attempted a 46-yard field goal unless they have rethought things on the 4th and 10.
Well, let me tell you,
they will send him back out there.
Yeah, warm up. He hit a 58-yarder into the net.
Dodge different halftime report. Reese Davis, Rodney Gilmore coming. 42 yards here last year. His best ever. 40 was his longest this year, hitting just 5 out of 10. This is actually going to be 47 yards. Longer than that if they still attempt it. After a timeout, it's always such a mystery how you come out and use too much time.
That's inexcusable is what it is.
Dead ball, delay, 5-yard penalty, repeat, 4th down.
Unless they just wanted to see him kick it farther.
The little bitty things in bowl games, you haven't practiced this situation probably, although they work very hard on special teams. If Northwestern can mount a comeback, that might come back to home.
Well, officially 51 yards, and he has plenty of leg, and he is good. And he has an Alamo Bowl record. Previous longest, Kyle Bryant, a 49-yarder for Texas A&M and 95 against Michigan.
Maybe that's what they were doing.
Maybe not.
All right.
Only a D lineman would say that.
But your scouting report, obviously they were seeing the same thing you were in pregame.
He was 55, 58 yarders, and like I said, he was hitting the back of the net. He was really pounding.
Yeah, he had both kickers kicked very well in warm-ups. Michelle mentioned that the rallying cry on the Northwestern bench was, this is just like Michigan, and indeed it was at that time. But at Michigan, by the half, Northwestern had pulled back within 28-23, and that's not what's happening here. They really had all the momentum going in the locker room. I just watched that game today. So they're going to need to try to do it in the 3rd quarter, unless they can get something here in 1 minute and 28 seconds.
Northwestern would need to do a little something about that average starting position. They're 19, but Chase Long has been a touchback machine most of this first half, and they haven't had much to say about it. Eddie Johnson is on his goal line, hoping to get at least a chance to return one. And he will here. Alleyway, looks for a cutback. That's as good as they've had it. At the 30. Willie Amos brought him down to return of 31.
31 yards on the kickoff return by Teddy Johnson.
And a minute 17 to work with.
Nebraska's really dominated the special teams play here, and that was a real emphasis. Coach Solich was adamant about that when we interviewed him and talked to him about this game. He said, we have really been so disappointed with our special teams. We've hammered at it in preparation. It's certainly paid off for him tonight.
Brown, through his trouble, says his confidence never wavered. We say the same for a lot of the Nebraska fans. Anderson at last, room to run. Can Randy Stella catch him? Nope. Touchdown. Bottled up all night, and he hits it for 69 yards.
Well, yesterday at the luncheon for the bowl, I was sitting with the Nebraska players, and there were a couple of defensive players that said Damian Anderson is not going to get 100 yards. Well, he certainly may get 100 yards because of that run. They've kept him, as you said, Dave, bottled up most of the night. But that's how explosive this offense is. Give them a little hold. They like to spread you out, use their speed. Once they break through that line, they've got a chance.
The very weakness that we talked about earlier, not having a tight end or two backs to help a tackle, is the strength here because the tacklers are spread all over the field. So when he pops the line of scrimmage, he's off.
Too long, remember, shaken up after making a kickoff coverage tackle. Some question whether he'd return. He is in, he hits it. And Damian Anderson on his 11th carry. 75 yards now after this 69-yard sprint.
Well, we've seen good play in the middle and on the line for Nebraska, but this time a good trap right here leaves the middle wide open. Look at all that area and nobody home. That's what this offense looks for. Space, create space. They're not about blowing you off the line of scrimmage. They're not about getting in your face. They're about creating space by traps and spreading you out.
And Mike Scott Shanley, number 43, the strong linebacker, was right in the hole. All he had to do was square up and make the play. Anderson was too quick, burst away from him, and then outran everybody in the Nebraska secondary, and that is saying a mouthful.
Only LaDainian Tomlinson of TCU outgained Damian Anderson this year. He's just a junior. But when you talk about his personal achievements, he comes back to you with the question, well, why didn't we have any all-conference selections on the guys who were blocking for me and opening up all those holes?
Yeah, that time there it was Jeff Rail, who transferred over from Notre Dame and sat out last year, and he's the offensive newcomer of the year, the lineman. And a nice block on that.
Stella returns it pretty well across the 35. They've averaged now starting at the Northwestern 45-yard line, 30 on the return. Let's check in with Michelle.
You guys were talking about the offensive linemen and not getting the kudos perhaps by the media and the press that they felt they should have, but they said, you know what, we don't care. When we're 75 years old, we'll be telling our grandkids we blocked for Damian Anderson. They won't care whether or not we made first team All Big Ten.
I would want to care.
That's what they say now.
Yeah. But you are not an offensive lineman. We're used to laboring in obscurity.
Yeah, where you belong.
Anderson left a minute 2 on the clock for Crouch. And riding him down, Napoleon Harris.
Press on the quarterback keep. Hit first by linebacker Napoleon Harris.
Not your conventional 2-minute drill with Nebraska.
Huskers have one timeout of no apparent mind to use it. Crouch is 3 of 10, 22 and a pick through the air, but 70 and a touchdown on his 10 carries. Dan Alexander already has an Alamo Bowl record, 119 rushing yards. Newcomb, one man with an angle, no touchdown. Everything Northwestern does Nebraska has an answer. 58 yards with 19 seconds before halftime. Could it be any more demoralizing?
Nebraska. No, the answer to that question is no. It cannot get any more demoralizing than that.
4 wide receiver set. Quick underneath screen. Great blocking downfield, and again, breaks the tackle early and then doesn't get touched till the 2-yard line.
Round for the PAT.
It's true that Bobby Newcomb has marvelous running ability on the punt return earlier, but it's also true that somebody has to do a great job of blocking in a situation like this. All squared up right there. Good job. Matt Davison, number 3. And then just speed from their own.
Here's determination to get into the end zone. He knows the guy's on him. Look at him try and break away. He's getting ready to dive for that end zone. He was not going to be denied that end zone. Again, when was he touched? That was the first time he was touched.
Well, Matt Davidson took care of that.
Yes, he did.
Little issue up there. But you know, there should have been black shirts sprinting inside out.
Exactly.
And what happens is maybe you score and you think, okay, we're going to go in at the half and the score is going to be that. You got to play to the end of the half.
There have been 2 points where Northwestern could feel pretty good about itself. They went ahead 10-7. One play later, they were behind 14-10. They get the big play by Damian Anderson, and 2 plays later, with officially 20 seconds before they could head to the locker room, Newcomb snuffs with a happy feeling right back down their throats.
Don't really let you enjoy it much, do they?
No, they don't. 31 second quarter points. And, 18 seconds still on the clock. Will it be only 31? Everything's called into question now.
You know, also at this luncheon, there were a couple of defenses that kind of took it personal when people were saying this could be a 45-40 game. There were 2 defenses saying, wait a minute, we don't want to let these teams score. Right now, the Nebraska defense is winning that argument.
Stock hit as he's trying to loop it over Roger Jordan. 7-3 at the end of the first. And Nebraska responded to the brief lead that the Wildcats enjoyed at 10-7.
Second quarter could be a final score alone.
It could. 31 in the second. Damian Anderson had exactly 1 play to enjoy in this first half. And the Wildcats will avoid further damage. That's all you can say. Eric Crouch leads a monumental Cornhusker effort in the second quarter. And they're running Northwestern off the field literally and figuratively right now. Halftime of the Sylvania Alamo Bowl, 38-17. Now the Dodge different. Halftime report with Reese Davis and Rodney Gilmore. Second half, Nebraska 38, Northwestern 17 is our score in the Sylvania Alamo Bowl. This was supposed to be a solid win for Nebraska, and in the second quarter alone, 31 points. That's a school record for a bowl. 119 rushing yards already is an Alamo Bowl game record for Dan Alexander.
Yeah, and I talked about it at the top of the game. The offensive line, they're the ones leading the charge. They're blowing the black and purple shirts back off the line of scrimmage. Watch, Alexander's not even getting touched. Look at the hole. It's absolutely incredible. Again, when's the first time he gets touched? 8 yards down the field. And look who's right down with him. That's all the offensive linemen. Now, this is a great power run by Alexander, and then he finishes it by jumping over the top. Just a fantastic job by the offensive line and by Alexander. But you know what? The defense maligned a little bit coming in statistically, but they're stepping up.
They're stepping up, and the most deceiving stat we have around here is 3 tackles for Kyle Vandenbosch. Yeah. He has dominated this football game in a way that I have not seen a defensive lineman dominate in many a year. Watch him go down the line of scrimmage to make the play on the run, batting balls and quarterbacks every which way, running over the big offensive tackle Brockmeyer, sprinting out on the option pitch to make the play at the sideline. He is everywhere. We had him down as a great academic Vincent P. Draddy Award winner. Right now, he looks like a Heisman defensive winner.
So you look at 290 total yards and 210 on the ground for Nebraska. 146 on the ground, fairly representative for Northwestern, but only 28 through the air. And Zach Kustok has at no point resembled the passer he was during the regular season. Kustok is 6 of 21, 28 passing yards, dampening the hoped-for comeback for the Wildcats. Randy Stella returns the second half kick, 21 yards.
Now that's the first time that Northwestern has lined up and kicked the ball deep. And look where Nebraska's starting, Mike.
And now let's see if Northwestern can build on this. Dave, interesting you talk about Kustok not getting the passing going. Sometimes players trade things after bowl games. I would say Kustok would want to maybe trade jerseys with Vanden Bosch, since Vanden Bosch has been on more than his jersey.
He may not have to ask for it. It may just occur.
But Vanden Bosch has got his jersey.
Yeah, just a natural physical exchange at this rate. Eric Crouch, keeper, 5 yards, and let's check in downstairs with Michelle Tafoya.
Well, Dave, I spent halftime in the Northwestern locker room pretty sober, obviously. Before the coaches came in, the players were trying to rally one another. A lot of focus being paid attention to the offensive line, saying, hey, it starts up front, and we know that. One player said, hey, let's play for pride, to which another responded, I don't know about you, but I'm playing to win. I don't want to play for pride. When the coaches did finally arrive, there was not a lot of fiery talk. That's not Walker's style. Just a lot of X's and O's and reminders that there's plenty of time left.
Alexander back at it. 50, 40 of Northwestern. Conrad Emmerich chases him down from defensive end, 33 more yards every step, a new Alamo Bowl record.
And again, when was he touched? I mean, the holes are huge. You've also got wide receivers blocking incredibly well. Once you get to the outside, Tom Beveridge is going to come and block down. Oh, what a fantastic block down by the split end to open it up to the outside.
Alexander again cuts back and settles for about 3. The old record was Cedric Shaw's 113 yards for Iowa against Texas Tech 4 years ago. And at this rate, Alexander may triple that.
Put it out of reach.
For good. In fact, Shaw's effort, the only 100-yard effort in the history of the Alamo Bowl, which is just in its 8th year, but right now 156 and counting at a 12-yard per carry clip. No telling where he'll put it when it's all over. Crouch, the late pitch is bobble picked back up by Correll Buckhalter. Runs out at 36.
Boy, Bill, Crouch is fun to watch. You just never know when he's going to pitch the ball. He could be turning the corner. He'll pitch it 20 yards down the field. He's always thinking, always looking, always seeing how he can improve the play.
He's such an athlete, and what you do with the option if you're the quarterback is you run a diagonal pattern toward the sideline, keep a good pitch relationship, and the back has to be able to keep that relationship, and he needs to catch the ball, which Buckhalter did not do then. But by and large, they have. And Crouch is a great athlete.
Passing set here at 3 wide on 3rd and 6. It's a quarterback draw. Crouch has room. What else is new? Still on his feet at the 14. And the hoped-for third quarter letdown for Nebraska on the part of the Wildcats. Well, it's not happening so far.
Absolutely opened it up. Then at the end of the run, Bobby Newcomb, number 12, gets the block downfield. Again, a planned quarterback draw, fade back, sell the pass, then look for the hole. You see the fullback going up the block. Now watch number 12, Newcomb, down there blocking. Crouch goes to the outside. And let's not fool anybody here. Crouch is going to be one of the best college quarterbacks around. He's not going to go on and play quarterback in the NFL, but he is going to dominate the college level the way he is right now.
22 yards. Buckhalter squeezing to the 11 and then driven back. There are a few, in fact, a number of pretty proud Wildcat defenders down there that have had it handed to them. And on occasion, a Missouri, a Silva rising up, trying to stem this tide.
But again, this was a defense ranked 82nd against the run, giving up a $182 on the ground, and they gave up more than that just in the first half.
And they do have a history of comebacks, but this isn't Minnesota that's up on them 21. Nothing against the Gophers, but you get Nebraska at your best. You're a Wildcat defender tonight. Crouch to the end zone, diving is Matt Davison. Touchdown.
That's the Crouch we saw before the game. Patiently standing, threading the needle. Nice job, nice throw. Wonderful catch, and especially on the artificial turf. For Davison to hang on, those balls usually pop out when they land.
Matt Davison, the first Husker since Johnny Rogers to lead the team in receiving 3 straight years. Extra point by Brown makes it 45-17, and Nebraska now owns the team scoring record for the Alamo Bowl. The old one was 37 by Purdue in California. 45 and counting at the moment. Back in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, the Sylvania Alamo Bowl, and so much for the thought that Nebraska might rest on the big second quarter lead they built. They go 7 plays, 79 yards to begin the second half. And Chase Long continues to put on a kickoff clinic. 45 points, the new bowl record. Davison, that dive 11 yards out, completes the latest scoring mark. It is reminiscent, Mike and Bill, of what they did in the Fiesta 4 years ago to Florida, 62-24. We may be looking at a final like that because it's that type of effort by Nebraska we're seeing tonight. Damian Anderson had a 69-yarder in the first half, and they get him loose. He gets a downfield block by Sam Simmons and ridden out at the 23-yard line. And with the long runs that Anderson has had this year, and this one's 57, how much credit do you give to the downfield blocking, Bill?
Enormous amount of credit. These receivers are trained and grilled by Randy Walker and his assistant coaches. They must be blockers if they want to get on the field. So the old glamour thing's out the window at Northwestern for the wide receivers.
The black shirt said it wouldn't be done. They wouldn't give up 100 for Damian Anderson. They got him at 140, 13 carries, double reverse. Simmons, good idea. Troy Watchorn was right there.
Real shock who turned that one back in, and to Watchorn, that was Kyle Vandenbosch. Again, doing a great job. Zach Kustok tried to block Vandenbosch, and that wasn't happening.
This give is to Kevin Lawrence, Anderson's understudy, the third leading rusher. 348 yards during the season. He's brought down by Carlos Pope. And right back in comes Anderson.
You're right, Dave. And the All-American Carlos Pope has been very quiet tonight. I thought it would be the kind of game we'd have to make a lot of those plays. We can't run it back because Northwestern's too fast, but he made a nice form tackle.
Quicker pace than usual for the Wildcats for obvious reasons. Throw on the run by Kustok goes to the 12-yard line, and they should mark that for Sam Simmons. Good enough for a first down, ridden down by Walker.
And this is more the Northwestern offense. Chip it away, chip it away. Don't put yourself in too long a third down situation. Just move the chains and take it down the field. Big run helps.
It's a testament to Nebraska defensive effort. Kustok less than 33% through the air. He keeps down to the 8. What made Northwestern the third best offense in the country this year was the fact that Anderson was going 174 yards per game, but Kustok was matching that, and some nights bettering it with 200, 250 through the air.
Throwing the ball, right, exactly.
The air game hasn't been there. Nebraska's taken it away. Anderson trips as he tries to make his cut inside of Jeremy Slechta.
They're starting to keep running that option play, Bill, that you talked about earlier, where they give it to Anderson, but Kustok is reading the backside end to see what he's doing. So don't be surprised if Kustok pulls it out there and tries to take it around end as they're trying to converge on Damian Anderson.
Yeah, as we showed in the first quarter, he actually looks at the 5 technique, the defensive end, to see where he's going.
Third and 6 for the first. 8 for the touchdown. Quarterback draw. Kustok fools no one. And I'm not thinking you're settling for 3.
No, they need
if
to.
You're Randy Walker.
They need to go for the touchdown. Yep. They need touchdowns. They do not need field goals when it's 45-17. They're going to stay right out there and try to get it in the end zone, and that's exactly the right thing to do.
4th and 4 for the first. 6 for the touch. This is into the Nebraska fans' end zone. Tough to be heard. Kustok slips the handoff to Anderson. Nailed at the 5.
The Nebraska front is actually baiting Northwestern. They've really studied them. This is where you have time to study. They bait him into making the call for the off tackle to the left, and then they slant into it. They're perfectly prepared. Slant right into it with the stunt. Right there to make the play is Jason Lohr, number 70, on the line stop.
And look at Van der Bosch again, going upfield and closing it down, making him go inside and then falling back and getting in on a part of the tackle. He is playing very disciplined ball out there, not letting anything get outside him. And when it breaks inside, he falls back in for the tackle.
Is that how you used to do it?
Absolutely. But I'll tell you.
Huskers actually have to start with bad field position because of the great play by their defense. It's a new statement every series, no matter which of their units happens to be on the field. And Silva with the tackle here at the line of scrimmage.
Well, you heard Michelle talk about what went on in the locker room at halftime. One player saying, let's play for pride. Another one saying, let's play for the win. They need to get on the same page of what they're playing for, but the bottom line is they've got to stop this offense that's been running all over them all night.
No gain for Willie Miller. Hasselbrook in motion on 2nd and 10. Crouch. We'll make it 3rd and short. And let's check in with Michelle.
Well, and speaking of playing for pride or whatever it is that Nebraska wants to prove, Eric Crouch came into this game saying to finish 9-3 would be below our standards. 10-2 is all we will accept right now. We still believe we're the best team out there. He also said the perfect game is still out there. We haven't had all 3 phases of the game peak in any one game this season. They've had 2 turnovers today. Other than that, Coach Curry, how close to perfect are they today, Nebraska?
Real close, Michelle. Very good point, and he did say that to us. And they are striving. That's what they're here to do. They're trying to play the best football they've played all year. And here we sit at 45-17, and it looks like they might just pull it off.
45-17 midway the 3rd quarter. Nobody in red has moved from the Alamo Dome. There might be a seat or 2 of purple that was previously occupied. These owners are now on the river thinking about something else. On 3rd and 2, it doesn't matter. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 20. Dan Alexander's going to pick it up tonight. Michelle.
Well, during that last time out, Eric Crouch came to the sidelines. Apparently, he had broken the string in his shoulder pads. So one of the assistant coaches took off his credential and used the string, which is pretty strong, by the way, holding his credential around his neck, got the equipment manager to cut it and tie Crouch's shoulder pads back together with that red credential cord, guys.
Improvisation.
At least he's credentialed.
Yes, he is properly credentialed. He won't get kicked out.
He can go interview himself after the game. Crouch ready to go deep for Newcomb. Closest man to it was Raheem Covington.
Now, that was ugly. That made him look like he had credentials in his shoulder pads.
Yeah.
He just slung it up there for no good reason to no particular spot. You get the feeling that Crouch lacks confidence in his arm, and he really shouldn't. I mean, he has the ability to do it. It's a matter of discipline and probably just reps.
You know, they keep saying we haven't had a complete effort this year. I think of a few teams who would disagree with that. Texas Tech's worst loss in school history, 56-3, October 14th, put on him by Alexander and company. And this latest gash reaches the 42. That's 24 more.
But you know, Dave, he didn't say a complete game. He said a perfect game. We haven't played a perfect game.
Perfect being, I guess, 62-24 for the national championship over Florida.
Well, yeah, and Florida was a little bit more complete team than Northwestern has been able to develop so far.
7 plays, 20 or more. Alexander has turned in more than his share. 9 more here. He edges closer yet to 200. Sports Center will follow with Reese Davis and Steve Berthium. Wild card had some wild finishes today. The championship rematch between Tennessee and UConn, women's hoops, and the Tour de Mario continues. Sports Center comes up following the Sylvania Alamo Bowl. Midfield, 2nd and 2. Buckhalter's turn to break tackles and run out of bounds at the 29.
Look at that guy smoke him, and that's your backup tailback?
Yeah.
Now, how would you like to play with that guy, Buckhalter, as your backup tailback? How about this for a burst? He's to the outside before they realize what's happening, and he outruns the defensive backs down the sideline. And he's another 2,000-yard rusher, ranking number 8 on the charts, and he as a backup.
The two of them
together,
Alexander and Buckhalter together, 1,904 yards out of that I-back position this year. Buckhalter not touched until about 8 yards into the Wildcat defense, and he picks up 11.
And about Buckhalter's only had 10 starts in his career, and he's 8th all-time on the chart. As we mentioned at the top, you just mentioned, he hit the 2,000 career mark. Crouch has hit it, and Alexander hit it. All 3 are first time in NCAA history that 3 hit it in the same year. I mean, they're devastating on the ground.
Davis drive 77 yards. Here's the 9th snap of the drive, and Buckhalter is undercut at the 15 by Covington. So in this day and age, and this was a lot of the discussion coming into this game, recruiting, spreading out the talent, you could have the rise and rise again of a Northwestern. But Nebraska continues to get the Nebraska types. It may be easier because so many people are throwing the ball now. They have an easier time, maybe, Bill, cornering this type of running attack. Buckhalter trips at the 6, and it's 1st and goal from there.
You are exactly right. A running, passing quarterback, a guy like Crouch is going to want to come here. Scott Frost went to Stanford, then transferred back and became a great quarterback here, led them to a national title or part of a national title. And you can go chapter and verse the great backs that have gone to Nebraska, and they want to be with those big hog linemen. They love it.
That's what I was going to say.
Those guys, a lot of them are walk-ons from in-state, and then they become scholarship-type players.
Put that old line picture on the screen, and those are what Nebraska players look like.
Buckhalter picks his way for a couple down to the 3, hit by Napoleon Harris.
But that is amazing, Bill. You're right, that these players, these linemen, come on as walk-ons, earn starting jobs, and become All-Americans.
Well, kids grow up in the state of Nebraska, on the farm or otherwise, and they think, I would just love to play for the Cornhuskers. It's the only, there's not a pro team there. So you got a kid 6'5", 220 pounds. 3 years later, he's 295, and he's ready to go.
Buckhalter spins, and one of the few negative plays for the Nebraska offense as Salem Simon, the defensive tackle, knocks it backwards.
One thing you have to do defensively, and Jerry Brown, the defensive coordinator for Northwestern, is more than aware. You've got to attack. You've got to be hitting the gaps. You've got to take some chances, and it's going to cost you some big runs.
Right.
But hopefully you can get some hits in the backfield and try to get this juggernaut slowed up.
But that is the way to stop this offense and slow it up, is to either make Crouch hang on to the ball behind the line before he turns it up, or make penetration before those big running backs can bust through the line.
With the play clock down to 1, Nebraska uses the timeout. 4:09 to go. They're on the doorstep again.
Remember Jared from Subway?
And right now the Northwestern Wildcats playing the part of the outnumbered, beleaguered Texians. 18:36. Nebraska having a party. 45-17, 4:02 to go, third quarter. Third and goal from the 6. Buckhalter and Miller in the eye behind Crouch. Option Crouch, pitch Buckhalter, and it's strung out as well as you can. Napoleon Harris had the bead on Buckhalter.
There are two things there. Good job of Harris stringing that out.
He might have grabbed a face mask, in fact.
Boy, wouldn't that be just pouring salt in the wound? It certainly is.
Oh, man.
One of the few mistakes Crouch has made running the ball. I think he should have kept that one and turned it up. He had a hole.
Yeah, he had the touch.
Yep. But how about this? You make a play, you string it out, and you still get nailed for the penalty.
Personal foul, face masks, defense, half the distance to the goal, first down.
Coach Walker, there'll be happier days, I can tell you. Doesn't feel that way right now because everything that can happen is. You heard of O'Boyle's postulate to Murphy's Law? He was an optimist. It says that Murphy was an optimist, yes. How'd you know that? Because I told you.
Hey, everybody's had those days where you're going with the O'Boyle on the thing.
Who are you guys talking about?
Just watch the game, Mike.
Move it to the 2. First and goal. And Crouch faking to Miller. Everybody goes with Miller. Crouch carries for the touchdown, and it's 51-17.
Boy, oh boy.
A couple of real happy friends of mine are Bob and Kathy McPherson, who retired from Nebraska, live in our community in North Carolina, and hang the big red sign out with the white N every fall. They're celebrating somewhere.
Josh Brown continues his PAT streak, now 106 in a row and counting.
Well, again, Crouch gets the touchdown, but he doesn't even get touched. Watch, 77, pulling around 335-pounder.
He can't find anybody.
Nobody even to hit him. Nobody even to hit the guy. He's a 340-pounder wanting to pull and hit somebody. He can't hit. Nice little flick of the wrist by Crouch there. He got a little basketball in his future, but it's almost too easy right now, guys. We talked about it all night. They're not even getting hit. You got the big lineman pulling and not even having to block anybody.
He didn't even have his mouthpiece in.
I'll guarantee you, if I were down there playing against Nebraska, I'd have my mouthpiece. More credentials for Crouch. Check it out, Michelle. I mean, what are they doing now?
Yeah, what are they using now? A little duct tape and chicken wire?
I wonder how much longer you're going to see Eric Crouch at this point. Got his 100 yards. He's got his team up 52-17. 3:52 to go third quarter. Everything they have found another level of intensity here in the third quarter. Teddy Johnson picks his way for a return of 9.
Finally get a bad kickoff and you end up on your 8-yard line because the thing, you can't hit it up.
And you know what's amazing? In a game like this, where it seemingly is a blowout at this point, whether it remains that way for the rest of the game, and people watching home may say, oh, it's a blowout, I don't want to watch it anymore. But you know what? You don't want to turn it off. Because this is a running team, Nebraska, that's what they're going to keep doing. It's not like a passing team just running it 3 times to not run up the score. They're going to continue to do what they do, and that's run the ball and do it impressively.
Damian Anderson, maybe 2. It's almost like watching a no-hitter, and it may be 11-0, but you're watching such artistry. You're not going to turn that off.
That's exactly right, Dave.
Boy, you guys are doing a great job of struggling to convince everybody to stay with us. Y'all, please stay with us. Let me just tell the truth. Please stay with us.
Kustok again under fire. Perfectly thrown pass to Simmons. At the 25 and out. Michelle Tafoya.
Dave Barnett, Frank Solich really worked his team hard for this bowl game. Eric Crouch told me they had about 20 practices. He wanted his team in peak condition. Over 50% of those practices were in full pads. 80% were in some form of pads. And they had to run 2 gassers after every practice.
Over the shoulder catch by Teddy Johnson. Juan Gross throws a shoe as Kustok throws 33 yards to Johnson.
And you don't gain 475 yards a game, third in the nation on offense, without having a lot of excellence. And Northwestern is not going to give up. This team is well conditioned, and they will fight to the end of this game. Nice throw and catch.
Into the 3-minute mark, they snap it from the 41. Anderson to the short side of the field. They'll mark him out at the 37. You know, this obviously is far from what they had in mind for the reward for a Big Ten co-championship. Keep in perspective what they've done in the matter of a year. Randy Walker's first year, they're 3-8. He completely revamps the offense after studying the St. Louis Rams and Clemson. And it's a little Martz, it's a little Rich Rodriguez. And in 1 year, from 103rd in total offense to 3rd. And tonight's well-connected storyline, sponsored by Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, is not a pretty storyline for Randy Walker. Nebraska with a 38-17 first half lead, 38 at the half for Nebraska. A school record 31 in the second quarter. 8 big plays, average field position is a joke. They've had such a short distance to travel. Get the feeling if they started on their own, won every possession, it wouldn't affect the score one bit. Johnson makes the catch. Forward progress at the 27, and the march continues for Northwestern.
And Northwestern put together a nice little drive here. Again, Nebraska shuttling players in and out on defense, but still they don't want to give up any more points than 17 right now themselves.
Kustok does well to get back to the line of scrimmage on the fumble snapback.
Going back to what Michelle said, Bill, you coach teams before bowl games. She said Nebraska about 20 practices. Is that the norm, or you go less than that?
The norm is 14 to 16 practices, even with a long time to prepare. And Coach Solich was really disappointed with this season, as was the team, and they just went out and got after it. And you can see the result.
Kustok hangs a jump ball up for Johnson. He can't come down with it this time. Gross again with him, and Johnson writhing in pain in that end zone. Not a soft landing.
Now, good coverage by Gross, though. The Nebraska plays a lot of man coverage. Craver at the one corner, Gross at the other. They've had good coverage tonight. Sees right on him the whole way. They're just jockeying for position at the end. You'll see arm on arm, and they both try and get the ball at its highest point. Can't really see what happens.
Ooh, nice throw. And he dropped that thing down the chimney, and Johnson's got a chance to make the catch. Craver rolled over on his ankle inadvertently. And as you say, there's not a soft place to land on that artificial turf.
So Gross with just enough contact to roll that ankle of Johnson, and he's helped off. Well, maybe for the last time in his Northwestern career. Senior, Elgin, Illinois. Really put it together his senior year. Injuries his first 3 years. He got his 40 time down. They had a tremendous offseason of getting guys in shape. The big guys getting stronger. The fast guys getting faster. He dropped it 4.7 to 4.55 in a matter of months. And he made for a very nice senior year for Teddy Johnson. Hopefully it's not over yet. Swing pass, Anderson running away from Booker, but at the 25, he can't get away from Jamie Burrow.
And, you know, just because this may be Teddy Johnson's last game, I want to give him his due a little. He had 6 touchdown receptions this year. They averaged 37 yards per reception. So, as you say, Dave, really turned it around and was very, very productive this year.
Got to say, too, Craig Bowl, the defensive coordinator for Nebraska, had a marvelous plan. They're ready for everything Northwestern's doing. They got an extra tackle everywhere.
4th and 10. Kustok trying to get the signal in from the bench. With the play clock at 4. And fires for the first down marker. And the catch is made, but not enough for the first for John Schweigert. He ran his pattern a yard short. And the whole point is get past the mark.
That's an absolute mistake. The receiver didn't run the route long enough. The quarterback didn't throw the ball far enough. But the receiver, 4th and 10, you've got to be past the sticks. Just in case you have to come back, you run it 11 if you need 10, and if you have to come back, then you're still at the sticks. There's no excuse for cutting off an out route when you need 10 yards at 9 yards.
However, you will be delighted to know, Michael, that they doubled Bandit Bosch. They got a back over there, and he stood next to the tackle, and he helped block Bandit Bosch. He did not get to the quarterback.
Crouch slipped it to Judd Davies, the backup fullback. Redshirt freshman out of Omaha. Carries for 13 yards in his limited duty. Backing up Willie Miller, he averaged better than 10 yards per carry. And injured player for the Wildcats, and it's Rashad Morton, the senior safety.
And that's what you get here. Like you said, limited duty, what, 18 carries on the year and averaging over 10 yards per carry? That's why they're the #1 in the nation in rushing yards and rushing average per run at 6.3 per attempt.
A lot of universities now, football programs, have excellent strength and conditioning operations in the offseason, but it began with Nebraska on a production line basis. It was done years and years ago, and that's how they began to establish dominance. Stronger, faster, bigger than the opposition, and that's what you're seeing here tonight.
And you know, it's been a production line for Nebraska has been offensive lineman. One of the considered maybe the greatest center ever to play in the game. Dave Remington has come out of Nebraska. Their offensive line coach, Milt Tenneper, 26 years, had 20 first-team All-Americans on the offensive line. These guys are just hogs, Bill. They are big, they are quick, and they are mean.
Yeah, and they know exactly what they're doing. I asked Tony Davis once. Tom Osborne was kind enough to allow our staff to come out there when we coached at Alabama and visit with him. And Tony Davis was a graduate assistant, a former fullback. I said, why do you guys get in the top 10 every year? He said, because we run the same plays that we ran 20 years ago.
Looking down to Rashad Morton, who runs off and holding either the elbow or the shoulder in great pain. And they will quickly get him to table and check on him. Swing toss. This is going to be Newcomb going deep, and Davison is 10 yards beyond anybody. A nice farewell for the senior Matt Davison out of Tecumseh, Nebraska. 69 yards on the flea flicker from the former quarterback Bobby Newcomb.
Let me just get this out. I don't really like that play. I don't really know why you run that one when it's 52-17.
It's senior night.
Yeah,
that's all you can think.
I mean, is there another way you could, have him run the ball somehow, some way? I mean, I don't agree with that one.
Maybe the last of the seniors. Bobby Newcomb's 4th touchdown pass of his career, and it's 59-17. Insult to injury. Well, like everything else they've done tonight, it's executed to perfection.
Absolute perfection. Again, the pass is backward, so Newcomb is allowed to throw the ball. Wide open, nobody near him. Bill, you're on the other sideline. What are you thinking about that call?
I'll tell you right now, Frank Solich was probably talked into that by somebody on his staff, and right now he's thinking, most likely, I really kind of wish we hadn't done that.
Are you steaming if you're Randy Walker?
Well, you're not so much steaming because the game lasts 60 minutes, and you shouldn't ask for any quarter.
Right. Now, that I understand.
But there is an unwritten code of honor that you don't run it up on people. And Nebraska, if they ran it down your throat and just keep knocking it in the end zone, there's not much you can say about that. But to run a flea flicker at 52-17, I think Frank will regret it.
Well, the 9th biggest big play, one of the biggest tonight, 69 yards, 3 of those for touchdowns, including this Newcomb to Davison. Touchdown bomb, 59-17. Jason Wright, the kick returner back there. And just across the 20.
And you saw that stat we just had up there, 9 plays of 20+. On the year, they had 53 plays of 25 yards or more, and 29 of those came on runs. I mean, dominating stat after dominating stat with this team.
Well, it's a dominating program. They do a wonderful job in the classroom. They got 13 guys out there on the field tonight that already have their diplomas.
Right.
Either earned them in short order or were redshirt.
And certainly to the credit of Northwestern, you don't have to question their academic standards at all.
Northwestern's #1 in the country in graduating student athletes and #2 on the football team, second only to Duke University. So a wonderful academic setup for both these programs.
Damian Anderson carried. It was hard to find anybody who didn't have at least a 3-point GPA on either team.
Well, there was some of them, some of the defensive linemen.
Kustok rolls and fires low and incomplete.
I'll tell you seriously, what I was impressed with was the variety of majors. You had math majors, biology majors, finance, the farm agribusiness major that you can get at Nebraska, communications. And of course, at Northwestern, there's also a wide range of science, business, liberal arts.
I was just impressed for both these teams of how nice the players were off the field and how on the field you're seeing, some pretty rough play out there. They're able to flip that switch on and off, which is exactly what you should do as a football player.
Vandenbosch is a calm, cool guy off the field. Almost snuck behind Kustok for a sack. Kustok finds somebody all alone and stumbling out of bounds after making the grab is Ronnie Foster. With 19 seconds to go in the quarter, that's 34 yards.
Well, one of the few times Kustok was able to escape Mr. Vandenbosch, and he turned it into a big play.
You think he's got his radar screen directed over there on that left side? Just smell that coming, and he just stepped up and wisely escaped it and made a nice throw.
Reverse. Not a surprise. Nobody's fooled at all.
Well, actually,
Patrick.
Yeah, what happened is Kelsey fell down, got up, and was right in the path of the reverse guy. The defensive end, Chris Kelsey, 57, got through the gap so clean he was surprised. He slipped and fell and got up, and the ball was coming right at him.
Through 3 quarters, and the highlight film of this one is a script by Edgar Allan Poe, directed by Wes Craven. If you're a Northwestern Wildcat fan. Nebraska with a cast including Crouch, Alexander, Buckholder, anybody thrown out there. Alamo Dome, Dave Barnett, Mike Golick, Phil Curry, and Michelle Tafoya. And number 8, Nebraska, can name its margin at this point. For number 19, Northwestern, 60,028 on hand in the Dome tonight. And the fourth quarter starts with the Wildcats, the 47-yard line of the Huskers on a 2nd and 12. Ross Anderson quickly knocked out after a very short pickup by Booker. Through 3 quarters, 545 total yards, 385 rushing yards for the #1 rushing team in the country, Nebraska. 354 total for the Wildcats, the #3 offensive team in the country. And that incomplete, intended for Ronnie Foster.
Certainly this Nebraska defense, again, switching in reserves, some starters staying in. You see Craver there still in the game, playing at corner. These guys obviously don't want any more than 17 points put on the board by Northwestern. So while an offense can back off somewhat to not put up any more points, the defense certainly is still trying to hammer the offense.
4th and 8. They need to get to the 35. Kustak's pass is batted away by Keo Craver, the junior from Harleton, Texas. One of a continued strong recruiting pipeline down here to the state of Texas, and Nebraska loves playing here in San Antonio. This is their 3rd trip here, and they have 3 blowout victories. 2 in the Big 12 championships. 1 over Texas last year. 3 years ago here against Texas A&M, and they're 3 for 3 for the Dome.
Craver, boy, another nice play. Jumping to make that block. He's a triple jump in track, so he certainly can get up in the air.
I watched the Michigan tape today, and they got behind Michigan, came back, scored 54, won the game. they haven't seen speed in the secondary the way they've seen from this Nebraska team.
Crouch still the quarterback. Davies on the carry. Down below to Michelle.
Well, you guys saw Rashad Morton get injured in a great deal of pain. The official word on that neck injury is a stinger. It's hard to believe it's simply a stinger with the amount of pain he is in. His father came out of the stands, and they are carting him back to the locker room. One more injury for Northwestern. Teddy Johnson has a left ankle sprain. They initially thought he was done for the day, but they taped him up. He may try it again, but Morton is done.
Alexander still in there fighting to get to 200 yards. That might do it for him right there. Both you guys ever have stingers? Is there any way to describe what he feels?
Bill, I was just going to say the pain and the stinger and the numbness that goes down to your fingertips and how your arm just absolutely dies. And the pain is excruciating for a while.
It is indescribable. And to say just a stinger, what it is a pinched nerve in your spinal column, and it's sciatic pain, which is the worst pain that the human body can express.
Alexander with a school record now for rushing yards in a bowl. The old mark was 206. Armon Green, the 98 Orange Bowl against Tennessee. Give him 37 more. That gets him to 237 yards, so another record shattered.
Raiola has the reputation of being a center that can play like a fullback. Watch that pull and hit beautiful. Pull around the guards, cut the middle linebacker down on the ground. Alexander off to his record.
Starting to see that more with the better centers around college and the NFL, that they're able to pull and get out there in space.
Pretty much anywhere Dan Alexander's run tonight has been in space.
Yeah, there's been plenty of space. But back to the center thing. Centers have pulled for a long time, but the difference in Raiola is he's so much bigger to be so agile. I mean, so little bitty guys like me could pull and lead in things. It's not a big deal. This guy pulls and leads. He's like a truck. He's like a tackle, but he runs like a fullback, and that's how his coaches describe him. He's a fullback type athlete, but playing in the middle of the line.
And it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Don. He's 22.
Got a nice gift.
237, also a career high for Alexander. Stuff for no gain. The old rarity tonight. Well, Dominic Raiola, the All-America center, leading the Nebraska offensive line, and they pointed toward tonight to show the country exactly what they're capable of.
Showing people that we can move. We're not, just slobs that just run right at you. I mean, we're going to move, and, I really believe that we're the most agile line, to come through this program, and I think that's a bold statement, but I really believe that.
Doesn't look so bold. It just looks like he's stating pure fact tonight.
Agile, mobile, and hostile.
Bad pitch. Crouch runs it down. Looks to make something out of it, and he'll lose back to the 28.
It's a great quote from Coach Jake Gaither of Florida A&M, one of the all-time great football coaches. Said he wanted his people to be agile, mobile, and hostile. Well, this bunch right here would fit the bill.
Boy, they would. And we saw the ball go on the ground. That was a huge problem for Nebraska last year, where they fumbled it 49 times and lost 29. This year, they really cut it down. They fumbled it 25 times and lost just 9. There again a fumble, but they did retain possession.
Although they overcame almost all those fumbles last year, except they only lost to Texas. 45-yarder, no good. Josh Brown with a miss. Earlier today, got his career-high kick, though, and it stays 59-17. Still here and enjoying a 59-17 lead. SportsCenter is next, but we have a new quarterback for Northwestern, Matt Danielson, redshirt freshman, Rochester Hills, Michigan, the son of our colleague Gary Danielson of ABC and the former Detroit Lions quarterback. So Matt taking over for Zach Kustok, who finishes 15 of 35, 138 yards through the air and 1 touchdown.
Well, Gary's got to be a little concerned for his son, knowing this defense still wants to do some hitting out there, to see his son take some shots.
6'2", 222 pounds. That's hit before.
Guess who?
Can get near its target. That would be number 83, I think. That'd be Kyle Vanden Bosch making another play.
I was just about to say, to heck with the fact that the defense wants to stop him. Vanden Bosch is still on the field. That's what would bother me. And the way a quarterback gets hurt the most quickly with his arm is for somebody to grab his hand when he's about to follow through. The shoulder comes out of joint. So Danielson was lucky he was not injured there.
Played in 7 games during the regular season. That throw should have been caught, and it wasn't.
I tell you, though, those defensive backs, Joe Walker, Craver, Gross, Watchorn, they are on the money. They are so tight in their coverage. They have been another big difference in this game, along with the people up front.
Yeah, the D-line and the D-backs, you're right. Vanden Bosch and the D-backs in their man coverage have been fantastic.
I really didn't think they could shut them down like they have. I really didn't.
Jason Wright could have run a long way if he had hung on. Standring has not had a good night. Although he gets a bounce here, it's off Walker and loose and covered by Joe at the 30. 10:36 to go in the 8th annual Alamo Bowl. All red and white tonight.
The Huskers leading the Wildcats 59-17. And I spoke with Dan Alexander earlier this week. He said he didn't really come from a football-oriented family, so he didn't understand the impact that the Nebraska football team had in the community. It wasn't until his recruiting trip that he got the idea. On that trip, the team went on a hospital visit. He saw patients in pretty bad shape simply light up at the sight of the players. He said that impressed him. He knew he could come to Nebraska and have an impact on people. He had a tremendous impact on this game, Dave.
Impact on several of the Wildcats, and now finally some backup Cornhuskers are filtering onto the field. New quarterback Jamal Lord, redshirt freshman, Bayonne, New Jersey. He played 6 games with those numbers during the regular season, and Derek Diedrich took that handoff, sophomore from Scarborough, Ontario, the first Canadian scholarship Cornhusker ever.
Yeah, I got a suggestion. Dan Alexander, who is a nice young man, needs to visit all the Northwestern players that are going to be in the hospital that he put there tonight. With totally clean hips.
Diedrich wrestled down by Conrad Emmerich. Alexander's numbers tonight, 241, shattering the bowl mark. It's also, and think of the history of year in, year out running talent they've had. This is the 8th best single game performance in Nebraska history. 1,400-yard games in his career. That total 6th in school history.
We talk about strength, running ability and strength. As a freshman, he won the weightlifting award here at Nebraska, and that's a huge thing because it's a big, big weightlifting team. Helps him run over those defenses.
The only program that's done more to popularize weightlifting than Nebraska?
No, they have set the pace, and they've set the standard, and they've been kind enough to share ideas with the rest of us in this business. And it's like anything else. It's not so much that you have the idea, it's how well you execute it that makes it work, and that's what Nebraska has done over and over and over. Dan Alexander being a model in so many ways of what you ought to be as a college athlete. He reminds me, frankly, of Bo Jackson. I had the privilege or the dubious distinction of coaching against Bo, and if you're the coach, you stand up, you're not worried about whether he's going to make yards. You wonder about whether your players are going to get up.
Timeout before just the 3rd punt required of Dan Haydenfeld all night. In the Sylvania Alamo Bowl, Nebraska again bringing them out in force. As usual, selling their allotment and then some in Northwestern as well, with a much smaller fan contingent and enrollment. Very well represented themselves in just their 4th bowl appearance in history. Derek Thompson on the return, and they'll start at the 33.
Well, Northwestern fans can take heart in the fact that obviously this game is not turning out the way they wanted to, but only 9 players from the current roster of 86 are gone. Just 5 starters. They have Kustok coming back, Damian Anderson coming back, their leading receiver Sam Simmons is coming back. The whole offensive line will have another year to gel together, so they do have a lot coming back for next year.
We were comparing this to the 62-24 strap they laid to Florida, the Fiesta capping their '95 national championship. You know, Florida rebounded okay from that game.
Yep.
They were the national champions the next year. Not saying that's necessarily in Northwestern's future, but it's not fatal. Capital One Bowl week continues. The Outback Bowl, New Year's Day, 11 a.m. Eastern from Tampa, South Carolina. Here's offering here on ESPN from Tampa. Danielson fires a fastball. It's deflected and intercepted. It was off Kunle Patrick, and Joe Walker gets the pick for Nebraska.
And I thought Nebraska was going to be called for offsides. There was a stun on the line, but the lineman moved sideways more than forward. I thought Northwestern had a free play there, but they didn't.
He was offsides. They should have called it, but they just didn't get it. He did not get back.
You didn't think he got back?
No,
I know he was
back.
starting to go on an angle. I didn't know if he got into the neutral zone.
That's too bad for young Danielson. He's got a nice arm, nice delivery, and the ball was just tipped up in the air and picked off.
So Jamal Lord back to work. And Darren Diedrich, the third I-back, behind Alexander and Buckhalter, making the most of his chance to shine. 16 yards. They're over 400 rushing yards now. 435 and counting.
Where are they all coming from, all these runners?
Well, this guy came from Ontario. He's a Canadian player, or was a Canadian player.
What happens when Nebraska has a game like this? They win. 104 straight when they rush for 300 or more. 182-5 is the all-time record since '73 anyway, since they have put together this streak of 300-plus rush yard performances. You know, we talked earlier about how recruiting has changed with the limits and it's benefited Northwestern. But has the trend offensively benefited Frank Solich? Because they used to battle Oklahoma, Texas running teams for the same type program, and there aren't as many out there that are trying to do it the way Nebraska is.
Oh, I think you've hit on something real special there.
That offensive player going to OU now is looking forward to a passing game.
That's right. They're going to get the great skill athletes, and Nebraska will get their share of those as well. But the top backs want to go somewhere they get a chance to carry the ball the way Alexander has tonight and these other guys.
Jay, that is a great point. And Texas has gone really to a more balanced attack with the two quarterbacks and throwing a little more. So it really is a great point that the big-time runners and the hog linemen are going to want to gravitate toward this system right here at Nebraska.
And the option quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of programs dabble in it. We've talked during the year about how sometimes that can be a dangerous thing, but when you specialize in it, you can get a Crouch and you can get a talent like Jamal Lord behind him. Ray Bogenreith makes the tackle on Lord. So added up, and this incredible string for Nebraska is now 32 straight 9-win seasons. This will be 10-2. 32nd straight bowl invite, 342 consecutive weeks they've been ranked by the Associated Press. 39 straight winning seasons, 3 more, and they will match the early Notre Dame program.
I wasn't on those teams in Notre Dame.
And they influenced your decision to go.
Yes, they did.
You beat me to the punch.
Lord blasted at the 10 by Harris.
However, Paul Hornung played on several of those teams, my old buddy from the Packers.
I certainly don't think Nebraska will have any trouble getting 3 more winning seasons and to creep up on Notre Dame. Though I'm sure Notre Dame will put together a few more winning seasons themselves.
You reckon?
Yeah.
And those of you tuning in for Sports Center, it is coming up as soon as we complete the Sylvania Alamo Bowl. Diedrich puts tackles into the corner of the end zone, and Nebraska cracks 60.
Now back to this thing about running up the score. There's nothing you can do when you put your third stringers in and they march down the field and score. Coach Walker's got a lot of his backups on the field, get them a chance to play a little bit on both sides of the ball. Nobody's going to dispute that. But when you throw those flea flickers at 52-17, then somebody might have a little.
I agree. There's absolutely nothing with just playing that smash mouth football, just running it, and you're going to make yards. You're going to make yards. The defense has to make some plays.
Brown makes it 66-17, a new school record. They continue to fall. This is the most points they've ever scored in a bowl game. Previous high, that's 62. This is 96 Fiesta. Everybody into the act, sharing the fun and the glory for the Huskers tonight. Chips began in 94. Tom Osborne's first title, 13-0 over Miami, 24-17 in the Orange. 95, arguably his best, 12-0. And national title number 2. And in 97, as he closed his career, another perfect season, and they split the championship that year with Michigan, which won the writers' poll, and Osborne's final team won the coaches' poll, 42-17. They knocked off Tennessee in the Orange, and that is the legacy inherited by Frank Solich, who went 12-1 himself last year. He got for a regular season loss to Texas. He might have had his first, or at least a crack at his first national championship.
Yards on the kickoff return by Trey Stuckey.
So you look at the start that Solich has put on the board in his first 3 years. Walter Camp, 41 wins in 3 years. They played a lot of games back at Yale, and then Switzer had the incredible start, a couple of unbeaten seasons, and with this, Frank Solich will improve to 31-7. Into the bench coming in now, Kevin Lawrence on the carry. Of the jobs inherited following legends. You know a little bit about that. You weren't right after Bear Bryant at Alabama, but he is right after a legend. And you know, the national championship hasn't happened for him, but it didn't happen for a long time for Osborne either. And really, it's hard to see any difference with that exception. Anderson's throw incomplete.
The rap on Tom for years was that he couldn't win the big one. And I mean, a lot of years, and they would have great seasons, and they'd be a 10-1 or 11-1 or whatever, and not win the bowl. He broke even in bowl games, maybe a little below breaking even. And then he had problems with Oklahoma. And I mean, it was constant misery until right down the stretch at the end. Then he got those 3 national titles, and that's what's tough to follow. But I asked Frank, do you speak to your local congressman? He said, well, as a matter of fact, we do. And Tom is very supportive. He said he comes around when we want him and need him. He's very careful not to insert himself where he shouldn't. And, of course, that's the kind of man Tom Osborne is anyhow. So the whole program is a remarkable program, and Frank Solich is doing a fine job of following up.
There are very few programs that if you do not finish in the top 3 in the country, you are disappointed, and Nebraska is one of those programs.
It's one of them.
And they will probably finish at around 5 or maybe in the top 5, and they will be disappointed at this season, knowing that they had the opportunities. They said, hey, we were number 1, we had our shot there, and we didn't hold it.
Everybody remembers Oklahoma and that route, the one that really has to stick with them that kept them out of the Big 12 championship game, and a chance to avenge that loss to OU, the 1-point loss at Kansas State, 29-28. And the defense keeps pouring it on. The catch by Jason Wright, short of the first. The marker down. 4:09 remaining.
Flag on the play.
Personal foul, Northwestern. And let's go down below to Michelle.
Dave, speaking of personal fouls, Carlos Polk talked a little trash before this game about Northwestern. He's from Illinois. He said he never really liked the school. Well, a second ago, he sought me out on the sideline. He pointed up at the scoreboard and he said, I told you all this would happen. I hope you had a lot of jokes to tell tonight. They're still basking in this glory down here, guys.
Oh, you never have enough jokes for 66-17.
Look at him just walking away. He couldn't say hi to anyone. And congrats to he and Kyle Vandenbosch, both those guys getting married next spring.
Line of scrimmage now, the Northwestern.
Starting into the real world there, huh, Bill?
The real world. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Michael. And mutual bliss for 38 years to the Courage.
Stanbreen's punt. Fielded on the fly. And again, Nebraska with an embarrassment of riches as far as where they have started their average possession. That return by Terrell Butler.
you know, going back to, you were talking about Oklahoma and talking to the players, a lot of the defenders for Nebraska, they said if they had hindsight, it was 2020, they felt they would have played Oklahoma a little different. They said we were just playing our game, playing aggressive, and they saw what Texas Tech did, lost, but held Oklahoma to his lowest point total of the year by just rushing 3, playing back, making Josh Heupel throw, and Nebraska didn't go that route on defense. They said they would probably do it different, or they would like to do it different if they had the shot again.
Third quarterback of the night, sophomore Joe Christman out of Longmont, Colorado, will finish things up.
Well, both coaches will use this as a teaching instrument. Frank Solich will teach his men what it takes to finish the job and be all that a Nebraska program should be. Randy Walker will say, now, men, you understand where we need to go in terms of quickness, speed, and power. We saw it in Nebraska. This is what we want to be physically.
Deontay Brixby carried for 4. And Thunder Collins. Great name, and they hope a great future. ABC Sports will have the FedEx Orange Bowl for the BCS Championship Wednesday, January 3rd at 8 Eastern from Miami, Oklahoma, Florida State. Oklahoma and Josh Heupel against Florida State and Chris Wenke. Oklahoma's last national championship was the 1985 team toward the end of the run for Barry Switzer. Florida State looking to repeat. And you know Florida State paid a lot of attention to those last 3 teams to play Oklahoma. Took a lot of notes because the blitz Heupel into oblivion train of thought that Nebraska tried to follow was simply proven inoperable. And Nebraska said, you know, we saw that Texas had trouble blitzing all out. Kansas State had trouble blitzing. But we thought we're better at blitzing, and therefore why not go with what we think we do best, and it still didn't work.
Yeah, well, and exactly right. They said this is the way we do it. We're going to do it, and they didn't adjust. They didn't feel they adjusted to maybe how they should have. But again, hindsight's always 20/20.
Well, they played well in the second half on defense, but it was too late.
2nd and 11. Collins finally corralled at the 37.
You know, I almost want to give. You remember the old commercial where the guy puts his arm around the shoulder and it says, "Here, kid, have a lifesaver." I almost want to do that to the Northwestern, but I feel bad for him. And maybe Randy Walker's going to hand out a bunch of lifesavers after the game.
I think what you have to remember is that they got in a bowl game, and it's a very good bowl game. They got up against a very angry, very talented opponent that taught them a lesson about football, and they'll learn from this.
Just the 4th time in their history. The score will be forgettable, but not the trip. They've had the time of their lives in San Antonio. And talking to them earlier in the week, one of the questions that came up was, well, you know, forever Northwestern was the doormat, one of the worst programs in college football. And then Gary Barnett produced the back-to-back championships, 95-96. They fell back down to 3-8 last year, and in 1 year, a co-championship with Michigan and Purdue under Walker in just his 2nd year. So do they think they're now at a point where they can start churning out the bowls year in, year out, and stay at this level? And they're convinced that that talent level is starting to show up in Evanston, and they have a system that can take great advantage of the talent. Collins on the carry.
Collins on the 4th down carry.
Our Capital One players of the game tonight in the Sylvania Alamo Bowl. Looking at the rather easy choice on the Nebraska side, and that's Dan Alexander with a career high in bowl record. 21 carries, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Damian Anderson got his 18 for 148 and a touchdown of 69 yards. Most of the time, however, he was bottled up and frustrated, but can't do it against a talent like Anderson forever. There's a nice adjustment. The catch is made by Ronnie Foster. Now they say he dropped it, never had control.
You know, you're right about Damian Anderson. The stats look good as Frank Solich gets his water shower. But it was a couple of big runs. You're right. He was bottled up for the most part by that fantastic, tonight anyway, Nebraska defense.
We should do it. We wish we could do it every week, but now that we're toward the end of our season, we finally get a chance to thank everybody that worked so hard with us. And in the booth, that's Kirk McCarley, our statistician, Dave Robinson, my spotter, Ken Trevor, Your spotter, Bill and Mike. Our technical director, Ross Flagg. Lead audio, Scott Prey. Audio assist, Pat Cassidy and Melissa Ward. Our core camera crew, Wayne Crump, Al Lishu, John Sherrill, John Shupin, Ryan McIntyre. Our lead tape operator, Gene Kelly. Our EVS operator, David Gray. Our engineer in charge, Marty Kipp. Our maintenance professional, Scott Rose. Our operations manager, Lynn West. And our director, Bruce Troit. Tape producer, Mike Molinari. Associate producer, Jamie Berg. Associate director, John Wilson. MIS stats, Joe Durant and Shane Taylor. First and 10 operators, Rich Jardin, Tim Keeley, Mike Sammartino. He's too modest to include himself on the list, but our producer, Tom Arbiter.
I think you really just forgot to put his name down.
Wonderful, wonderful group of people.
That's a lot of people to make us look good, gang.
I'm telling you, I've worked with a lot of groups, and none better than this, and I really mean that.
And Mike, Bill and I have been together for now 4 years, and adding you and Michelle to the scene, and the three of us have taken a vote. Right now it's 2-1 in favor of bringing you back next year.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Who voted for it?
Lots of fun around you this year. Jeff Shuey as well should be in that list on our audio RF technicians. Red Butler with that return and the traditional bath ×2.
Wow.
For Frank Soule.
Well, 66 points, you get a couple of them, huh?
19. Yeah, thanks.
Mike, I voted to bring you back. I just want you to know that I'm one of the ones that voted to bring you back. I don't know what I would do without you, big man. I don't know what my foil would be for defensive line example, as well as you do that. It's just marvelous.
I heard Michelle Tafoya voted you out.
Michelle's the only vote that
counts. Final play of an amazing statement by an amazing program. Nebraska 10-2 in the 2000 season. They are the 2000 Sylvania Alamo Bowl champion. They've taken 6 of their last 7 in the postseason, and this one for the books, their highest scoring bowl ever, 66-17. They defeat Randy Walker's Big Ten co-champions Northwestern. They finish at 8-4. So again, our final, Nebraska rolls 66-17. Coming up next, Sports Center. For Michelle Tafoya, Bill Curry, and Mike Golick, Dave Barnett saying so long from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. Your home for college football on the internet. Sports Center is next.